Oh, that's great. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the April meeting of the Lyme Zoning Commission. Today being Tuesday, April 13th, 2026. At the table this evening, Mary Jo Nozel and Denise Savageau, permanent members. We have our secretary, Jane Marsh, alternates Michael Peter Barnes, Mary Gardner Coppola, Eric Knapp, our land use coordinator. On the Jumbotron tonight, our Michael Foliano, he's a full-time member. Welcome, Michael. And we also have Francisco Gomes, who is the lead consultant that we have for the old Lyme zoning regulations discussion later on in tonight's agenda. So before we begin, does anyone in the audience have any comments on any of the items in tonight's agenda?
Not which are subject to public hearing, just to, because if it's public hearing, they have to speak during the public hearing, right? So we don't want them talking about items that are otherwise being covered.
Okay,
Okay?
I stand corrected.
Okay.
Does anybody have any public comments that are, well, I gotta corral this thing because, you know, we could be here all night with these comments.
Well,
You know, they might not be related.
okay.
All right. All right, I'm going to assume that we're good. So we'll move on to the agenda. Our first item on the agenda is the special permit application and coastal site plan for 77-1 and 77-2 Lime Street. At the request of the applicant, this public hearing is now moved to the May 11th, 2026 meeting. There will be no public hearing or discussion on this subject here tonight.
Before you just go, I know Jane raised with me the issue that when they come back, that this may be sufficiently different that it may require them to withdraw and reapply. I did prepare a motion to deny tonight if that's what you guys were up to doing. However, I would recommend, and past practice has always been, that if someone requests time to come in with an amendment, that we allow them time to do that. At this point, just add one person's coming in. Okay. Again, at this point, they have hired Marjorie Shansky as an attorney. They are having revised plans. We have not seen the revised plans at this point in time. I am anticipating getting them in advance of the next meeting sufficiently that I can review them and get them out to you ahead of time. But again, Jane did contact me and say she was concerned that what they would be submitting is sufficiently different that it would not be covered by the application and would require them to withdraw and start over again. And I don't know if you want to speak any further on that at this point.
Yeah, that's the only thing is that if we can't really make that determination for them until they submit everything, then they just have to.
Okay. That's fine. I'm just at this point that Marjorie Shansky specifically said, can you please allow us to continue to May 11th? And I would just request that that be the case. Okay.
Okay.
So what was the basis for the request to extend it a month?
Okay. If you recall at the last meeting,
Yeah.
there were a whole bunch of various issues regarding compliance with the zoning regulations.
Right.
They are going to be amending their plan to address the concerns raised at the last meeting.
This was like the step back and.
Yeah, they basically said, we agree that you've raised points that we haven't well addressed.
Okay.
We would, and they get hired an attorney to help address some of those points. We would, because they just hired the attorney like last week, and she early has, she had a chance to get up to speed, and they don't have their new plans finally revised. They're saying, look, we need more time. So that's what they've asked until May to come back on this. And again, the practice has always been, if you have time on the public hearing, and again, it's only been open for a month now, to just extend it out at an applicant's request to allow them the opportunity to come back. And again, if it comes back so wildly different, it doesn't seem like the same plan. At that point, you can say, folks, withdraw the previous application, please resubmit with a new application that covers your new proposal. As James said, we don't know what it's going to look like. So right now we're sort of stuck in limbo on the situation. So, okay.
Eric, just quickly from a procedural perspective, we had voted to start or do the public hearing tonight. Do we have to vote on this new date?
I would prefer if you voted to leave the public hearing open for another month, but it's not required technically. It just, I think would be a good practice to do so.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Is there a second? Seconded by Jane Marsh. All in favor to move this public hearing to the May 11th, 2026 meeting?
Aye.
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 Okay. I guess it's been approved. Michael, Mr. Foliano, are you voting? Oh, oh,
Okay, yeah. We haven't been able to hear him, so.
What's the question marks? I've never seen that. Next.
yeah. I saw
Yes,
that.
yeah, he may be trying to give a comment. We're not seeing. So let me see if I can figure out a way to do this without running the stairs here. No,
Can we text him?
why don't you try and text him and see if we can figure out what's going on with him? Okay, meanwhile, again, I would just move to the next two items, since again, we're not really in controversial
Right.
territory.
So we can skip the next item, which is the
The old business and move to
business,
receive.
and then we'll move to receipt and setting of public hearings for new case.
Am I coming through now?
Yes, you're coming through now, Michael. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can, and I was an aye.
Okay, well, I'm glad that
Okay.
we're hearing you now.
I'm glad I have two phones.
The motion to postpone or continue this public hearing to next month is approved 5-0-0. Okay, we have case 26-7C, a special permit application and coastal site plan, 18 Old Shore Road. Construct a new 4-bedroom, 5,240 square foot, single family residence within the Gateway Conservation Zone in RU 40. Eric and Charles Stone are the applicants. I will take a motion.
Well, before you do anything, there's a brief presentation, I guess, that the applicant wants to put
Oh.
on for you this evening here.
If you would like, I can give you just a 5-minute overview of the project so you understand it.
Sure, that would be great.
Get ready for next month.
Please, sure.
Excellent, thank you. So for the record, Joe Wren of Indigo in Old Saybrook. We will make this short and brief. Is the easel okay, or will that be a little too far away?
Put it kind of in the center court here would be fine.
Yeah. Thank you. I'll actually just do this. I think it'll be easier to see. So this project is at 18 Old Shore Road. Currently, if you're familiar with this triangular intersection with Button Ball that goes off this way, there's some vacant land right at that intersection. There are actually 2 lots there. There's another vacant lot here, and then 18 Old Shore Road is this vacant lot that's essentially right across from that triangular island there. So as I said, it's a vacant lot. There are inland wetlands here, highlighted in green and shaded in gray. There are also tidal wetlands along here. The 100-foot buffer from the wetlands is in pink here. The 50-foot buffer from the tidal wetlands is in pink dashed. And then yellow is the 100-foot from the coastal resource. So you can see that we've kept all of the development completely outside of all those buffers. There's also a flood zone that comes in here. So on the house side, this is not in the flood zone. This is in the flood zone. As far as Gateway, this is right on the very fringe of Gateway. I think it's the last property. If this property was across the street, it would not be in Gateway. So it's right on the fringe of Gateway, and this will be referred to them. Gateway did give this a preliminary look already, and really the only question they had was about the temporary soil stockpile area in fill. Whether that was going to be like a big mound of fill brought in on the site, but there will be fill for the construction of this project, but that's just our normal topsoil stockpile area when all the topsoil gets stripped off, temporarily stored, and then respread after construction. So the reason why this has to come before you is the house cumulatively including the garage, all the spaces over 60 covered porches, is over 4,000 square feet. So it requires a special permit from zoning commission. So that's why we are in front of you. So it's right on the fringe of Gateway. It's in Gateway. It's over 4,000 feet. So it has to come to you for a special permit.
Now, mind you, you would still get a CAM anyways, a new house in the coastal area resource zone, but that would be a site plan as opposed to a special permit wouldn't require a public hearing. So there we are.
Yes. And before last October, this probably would have been exempt from CAM because it was a single family house more than 100 feet away from the coastal resource. With the change as of last October 1st, it does require a CAM, but we don't see any issues with CAM. We have silt fence. Again, we're outside of all the resource buffers. And we also have 2 dry wells. It's very good sand and gravel soils. We have 2 dry wells, one on this side for the driveway in the garage area, and then one on this side for the remainder of the runoff for the house. So it's all going underground, reducing the surface runoff as much as possible. All right.
Any initial questions?
I know that the development, another development off of Button Ball, one of the issues for the town was there was runoff onto the road and there was a lot of controversy of that. How are you proposing to deal with that in this case? Because you've got the state road and you've got Button Ball there.
Yeah, so there's no state road, but this is only construction of one house. I know the Button Ball is more than one house cumulatively, so there's a lot more land clearing. Here, this is just a meadow, so there's not clearing of one tree for the development of this proposed plan. There were some dead trees along the road that they took down before, but as far as this is just an open meadow right up to the tree line. You can see the tree brush line here, so we're not clearing anymore. It's just it's an open meadow. The site generally, the road is higher than the site, and the site tails off this way. So there's no chance for anything to get to the road. It would all go back on the site, and then there's silt fence all around the buffers to hold any mud or runoff from going toward these resource buffers.
I suspect on Button Ball, the other side there's also a great deal more ledge, which has stopped a lot of the water from infiltrating here. I don't think there's any ledge. It's all sort of.
And it's up on the hill, so it's got the storm. This is flat.
Yeah, this is kind of inverted. It's a little lower than the road where that's higher than the road. With shallow ledge, you can't absorb, like they were just mentioning, you can't absorb a lot of water into the ground. This is very deep sand and gravel, 9-10 feet of really good sand and gravel before you hit the water table. So it's excellent for drainage.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Number one.
So
We need a motion to.
make a motion that we set this public hearing for next month in May. Is there a motion? So moved by Jane Marsh. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denise Savageau. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained. Okay. Case is set 500 next month. All right. Case 26-8C, special permit application and coastal site plan. 15 Smith Neck Road for the construction of an addition to an existing 4-bedroom residence, increasing the total floor area to a proposed 9,720 square feet on a property located within the Gateway Conservation Zone. RU40 applicant Charles Valente, 2010 Trust. Is there anyone here to? Oh,
Good
all right.
evening again for the record.
Double header.
Repeat, deja vu. Joe Wren, professional engineer of Indigo and Old Saybrook, again for the record. Very somewhat similar to the last one, with the exception of the yellow on here are existing structures on the house. There's also a pool, an in-ground pool over here that's not highlighted. What's being proposed are these red additions. So the 2 central additions are open porches, and they're just basically closing in the roof porches. Here, there's an addition, and then there's a screen porch on that end. And then this is the larger addition on this end of the house. So again, the reason why we're here is because of coastal area management and because of the special permit of the house cumulatively, not only the main house, but also there's a garage. There's a small living space guest house over here and a small shed. the cumulative gross floor area on here exceeds 9,000 square feet, and your overall maximum limit is 4,000 in the gateway zone. Of course, this one's also in gateway. Gateway did look at this one preliminary, just like the last one. They have no comments on this one so far. Sounds like a spinning top.
See?
Okay, that's right.
This is something new, so we all get it. New toy, right? But on this one, the property is so large, it's over 9 acres. This green line here is actually the 100-foot, so the wetlands are way over here, the coastal resource, and then it's another 190 feet to the nearest addition. So we're almost 300 feet away from the coastal resource here. So there's no opportunity for any adverse impact on the coastal resource. Of course, there'll be silt fence around the construction, but it's very limited. It's just a long, gently sloped meadow all the way down.
Do you have, will you have pictures of what it looks like from the water?
From the water on this one, I believe that the architect does. Yes, the architect's not
That's
here
what
tonight, but I
That's
believe
what
that
we
they.
need.
Yeah.
Did Gateway review this back before, when it was just the green part, or has it never been reviewed by me?
I'm not sure if they, with this particular commission that's in here, because it was years ago, but this particular commission.
But
I'm
whether,
not sure, but-
whether that reg was in place then, the 4,000 square foot reg, when this house was built?
So I think this was built in 1990. The last time it was touched, I don't know. I could compare those years. My sense is that it was before. But the current commission did look at this preliminarily, and the executive director, Susie, emailed me and she said at this time that.
And we do architecturals on this. They literally have photos from 5,000 feet away, 3,000 feet away, 1,000 feet away. So you can see what it looks like over those distances. Okay, you will be getting those.
Yeah, some of that was submitted with the application as well. In this particular case, there's the mass of the existing house that's there. And then there's other massive other buildings beyond. So it's kind of blocked, and it's just so far from the water on such a large property that it just doesn't really
And
make
do
a
you
large
have,
percentage. difference.
anything that shows us where the vegetation is too? So that might make the view not a direct view.
So there are no trees or very limited trees. There are some trees along the property line. This is basically an open meadow here. Tall grasses and maybe some sparse trees.
Because our review is supposed to be about softening the view of large bulk houses from the Connecticut River and the back river.
Right, correct.
So it's not like whether we care about the architecture or anything like that. It's what is it going to look like? So if there isn't an empty field, of course, it's going to look there is nothing to buffer it.
Right.
And so in previous applications, that's a sort of important point, even if it's a pre-existing.
Particularly on Smith Neck Road.
These
Particularly on Smith Neck Road.
Yeah.
Particularly on Smith's Neck.
these additions in here, again, these are currently roofed porches, so you're really not going to notice much difference there. This is kind of off on the angle, and there's presently house there as well. This is the largest piece, but it's a relatively narrow dimension in this direction. And then, like I said, it's 300 feet to the marsh, and then they probably have another 300 feet of marsh before they get to their property.
You still understand.
Yeah, it just
Our
looks
point.
very small.
It maybe looks small, but this hasn't been buffered.
Mhm.
Yeah. And sometimes people don't want to buffer it because that's the whole point. They want to be able to look out and see everything, and they also want people to be able to look back and see everything.
Yeah, with Gateway, so there are some trees back here, and with Gateway, in several discussions with them and looking from the river, if there's anything, like if there are other houses, other buildings, anything else already behind it with similar mass, that.
Yeah, you're not gonna, unless that
Right.
one's sticking way up on the higher point. It's really the new addition. And
Yeah, we can compare these roof lines, but these roof lines are probably fairly close. It's fairly flat from here to
Yeah,
there with
so
the
it won't be
driveway.
that building as much as it is the one in front.
Right.
And so it's kind of a different thing that people are used to that we're reviewing.
Right.
Yeah, we're reviewing what does it look like, and is it buffered and set into the property, and does it really not call attention to itself if you're on the river?
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what, so next month, when you set the hearing date, next month, whatever date that is, May 11th, I think is the
May
date.
11th, yep.
The architect will be here with those renderings that were submitted with some of the
Yeah,
information to you, and
Landscape,
we'll explain all of that.
maybe a little landscape discussion, right? Somebody.
Yeah, I didn't see much in the way of landscaping shown on the materials that we received, but I will get them out to you and then,
Something that has to kind of be explained to the person who's building it and
Mhm.
how proud they are of what they're
Mhm.
building.
Mhm.
But that's what we're reviewing, actually.
Yeah, there's a septic system right in front of all of this. This is what these four pieces are.
Okay.
So I think, there's limited opportunity, and I'm sure that they would
Is it
plant
kind of
a wall of
flat
trees.
going to the river, or is it going up?
No, it
It's-
gradually
Yeah,
slopes
so
down
that's,
to the river.
that's the point, is it?
This is elevation 22, so it's 22 feet higher.
Right, so you get to figure it out, how tall a tree is and what it can cover.
Okay, well, thank you for that feedback.
Okay.
Because that's why we're reviewing it. It
Mhm.
might not have been reviewed when it was first built, but that's our job now, is to review it. What does it look like and is it buffered?
Yeah, like I said, we'll have probably more formal comments from Gateway Benson because they'll meet this month before your next meeting. And then we'll bring those to you as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you.
we had a motion.
So there's a motion to set this for made. And if we don't get to it, it'll slide, but
I
Okay.
make that motion to set it for May.
motion to set the public hearing for made by Jane Marsh, a second by Mary Jo. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, aye,
Aye.
aye. Okay. Opposed, abstained. Motion passes 500, is approved 500. Okay. So the next part of the agenda, section 4, item A. Discussion and planning of schedule phase 2 of the zoning regulations rewrite project. Do we want to do that now, or do we want to address B and C first?
B should be fairly quick if you want to take care of that. C, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I think 26 Griswold Point shouldn't be a very long application.
Okay. Shouldn't.
Up to you how you want to handle it. The,
Commission, what are your thoughts? We want to spend,
Extra agenda.
there's more in here.
Quite a few.
Thank
there's quite a few.
Another three
Oh, you have it.
informal discussions.
Some of those informal discussions are probably likely to be lengthy as well. So when it's up to you when you want to move to your planning discussion. So
Well,
I make a motion that we move 26(8)(c) up before 6(a).
okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second
Second.
All in favor?
it.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'm assuming Mike was here.
let's work on the assumption that that's a yes and we'll,
Yes,
okay, so that,
all right. So the motion abstain. I just get a mental picture of what's going on there. That's why dusting furniture now.
Glad. I haven't heard that in a while.
How about that, huh? All right. Would somebody like to text Michael and ask him to mute his microphone?
I just did, he's muted now.
Oh, he's muted now?
Because you're muting him.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay.
I'll text them though.
All right, so then that'll be, we will then address now case 26-8C coastal site plan 26 Griswold Road. Madam Secretary, have you anything on that, or is it just a,
Eight Cs.
It's not a public hearing.
We have a file.
Hey, Mike.
You should have a file on it and
Mr. Foliano,
Can you hear me?
Mr. Foliano?
Yeah, your microphone's doing all
Can you
kinds of funky
please
stuff.
go to mute your microphone. By the way. Thank you. So do we have anything, or we do?
You have a fairly thick folder on it. And again, it's just a CAN application, so you don't need to read a public hearing notice.
Okay,
Good evening, Eric Fluff, Black Design Build.
Hi, Aaron.
How's that feel?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Do we need to address anything in here or not yet?
No, not at
No,
all. Again, this is a
okay.
coastal site plan application.
Okay,
So you don't
good.
need to read a
Go
public
ahead,
hearing
Eric.
notice or anything like that. There was no public hearing notice for this month.
Okay, carry on.
We are renovating the main existing structure. Plan is to remove the existing L on the house and replace it with something that's actually smaller than the existing, within 90% of the existing footprint. We're also looking to remove the existing garage. So we've got a net loss on the site of 1,060 square feet compared to the current. This roof line on the new addition that's proposed is lower than the existing addition. And the idea is to keep the house in keeping of the original architecture as closely as possible.
If you want to open it up and just show us.
Okay.
Okay, this is-
I'm sorry, what's that?
Where is
At
it?
26 Grizzle
I know,
Point.
but that, we need to know sort of where it's at.
It is
all the way down to the
all
right.
the way down at the river, on the very end of the point.
Okay, it's the last house.
It is the last house. There's it in its current iteration, right? So we are taking this L off completely and the garage. We are keeping the main footprint of the house, this section right here, in its original form. We are replacing it with this L, which is one single roof pitch. And this is the water facing elevation. And this is the inland facing elevation. This is the current front of the house. This is an example of the finishes that we propose to use.
So, but it's not gonna have this bigger part here, it is.
This is just, this is the Olson house in Maine.
Okay.
As an inspiration.
Okay.
It's weathered
It's
siding.
kind of like what's already there.
A bit, right
But
now
it's
it's
more
mostly
now modern.
dealer paint and
Yeah, yeah,
holes in the roof
It's-
currently
yeah.
with missing windows, so.
yeah. So, but as far as what anybody would see, that didn't go
Correct.
inside.
Correct. As far as walking on the beach and looking back, it's going to look a little bit smaller than currently.
Mhm.
We're keeping all vegetation that's existing at the moment on the site. And yeah, just it currently has an in-ground pool inside the structure. So it's not tenable and not usable anymore. That's going to go away. And replacing it with kitchen, dining, living in that L. And renovating the interior of the main house.
Could you talk to us about the flood elevation and what you're doing there?
The current elevation is 13'7".
Mhm.
And this L matches the current house for that same 13'7".
Okay, and that's above the,
It is.
If you look on the flood map, Denise, you'll see it should be, the flood, it sort of carves around this house there, and then this house is not in the 100-year flood.
okay.
We have not received a formal review from Deep on this. Again, they're advisory. I know that Deep gave you guys separately some comments on this earlier
Did
that,
they? Okay. I did not see those yet.
and Deep does not seem to have a problem with this, but that was, again, that was, they submitted to Deep before they even came in with the came application, and Deep seemed to think it was okay. So, again, it's a single family house in a single family zone, and Deep doesn't seem to have any problems with it. So again, it has to come in for a CAM given its location. This is a substantial change with the demolition and rebuilding. So under the new October 1st rules, it has to come in front of you for a CAM review.
And part of a CAM review requires us to do erosion sediment controls and also the stormwater management permit.
Yes,
If it's under 5 acres, doesn't go to the state, it comes to us. So do we have a stormwater management plan and an erosion sediment control plan?
I haven't seen those, but do you want to speak to that at all? Do you?
I know in here we do have notes on silt fencing the site, but we do not have a formal proposed plan to you that has been submitted yet.
Yeah, because we have to approve that as part of the plan. if we don't approve it, then it goes to DEP needs to, like, and you don't want to go to DEP
No, I'd
for a
prefer to
stormwater
hang
management
out with you
plan,
guys.
just to tell you, you don't want to go there. You really want to get it from us, so we need to make sure that we have that on file. In terms of that, it should be fairly easy to do. In terms of, because you're not really expanding the impervious cover, so that should be, pretty easy with the stormwater permit. So I would basically say the stormwater permit, the big issue with that is making sure you have, during construction erosion sediment control, so.
Okay.
So making sure.
Will that require any secondary visit to your committee, or is that just a?
We could require it and have Eric look at it
Deputize.
Yeah.
Okay.
As a condition, right?
as a condition.
What I will do is I'd probably just forward it over to Jacobson's office and have them give me a quick review of it, because again, I don't expect it's to be a very detailed,
Yeah.
very elaborate plan.
I mean, if there was something I saw that needed more details, I would say we would come back to the commission, but this looks like it should be pretty straightforward. So, but I just want to make sure that it's required and that we have it on file,
Okay,
because it's assumed that when we approve something, that it has an erosion sediment control plan.
I will make sure that's a condition of approval. Okay,
Other questions for the applicant? No, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we can take a motion with condition
to approve with
to approve with,
the conditions.
we have two conditions, correct, or one?
I think
Just
it's
the one with the soil
one.
erosion?
Two, but it says, looks like it's one.
Well, I mean, essentially,
The
Per
deep-
Denise's
deep is
comment,
all we're set with deep,
yeah,
right?
Deep's not going to be able to, is not going to comment further at this point.
Okay.
So at this point, you're going to approve it with, again, stormwater and flood erosion control plans to be reviewed and approved by a town engineer or consulting engineer. Okay.
Okay, is there a motion for that?
Oh,
So moved by Jane
Second.
Marsh, second by Denise,
Yeah.
Denise Savageau. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
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 Okay, opposed, abstained? All right, so the application with the condition is approved 500.
Again, up to you if you want to go back and take the planning update, or if you want to move on to the coastal, the municipal site plan.
So we probably should,
Yeah,
because there's a lot of stuff.
I think we should go through that and then go back and finish up with ours. Okay, so is there a motion then that we move section 4A to the end of section, wait a minute,
No, we need to.
you want to do A first?
Yeah.
Oh,
We
okay,
have staff.
Okay.
Because
Yeah,
Francis goes way.
right, that's right, that's that.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so then our next item will be discussion and planning of schedule phase 2 of the zoning regulation rewrite project. The outreach group that got together, I guess we will turn it over. Which was, by the way, that was Michael Foliano, Denise Savageau, and Mary Gardner Copeland.
Okay.
And with us, again, is our head consultant for the project, Francisco Gomes. Welcome, sir.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Very good.
So Denise or Michael, do you want to?
Well, I think, Francisco, you're gonna go over what you submitted to us. Why don't you do that? And then we'll talk
Sure.
about some of the proposed changes we have for that.
Okay, should I see my screen? And if I do, would you be able to see it in the room?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I will do that now. All right, so I provided two documents, which should be online shortly here. One is regarding the phase 2 process as a whole. And the other document is focused on the community engagement aspects of phase 2. So what I'll do is
Francisco,
I'll- yes.
can you enhance that a little bit more?
Sure.
One more?
Sure,
That's
sure.
great.
Okay, very
There you
good.
go.
There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So I'll just give a brief introduction as to, what this phase entails and the reason why we have it structured as we do, and the type of work that this phase is designed to address. And then we can go through in more detail. And if you have questions or comments along the way, feel free to interject. I'm happy to receive any questions you might have. So the phase 2 schedule, and first of all, phase 2 as it is intended to allow for us to explore very intentionally changing the zoning to respond to needs that we've identified through the course of this work or through the course of other work that's been done in town or from your experience in reviewing applications and regulating land use for the past several years. The phase 1 of our work was focused on restructuring the document to make it more usable and to correct errors and issues and to ensure that it's statutory compliant as best we could during that phase. And with the focus of minimizing the amount of change that we actually did to the regulations in terms of what's allowed and the processes that things are permitted by, et cetera. We were very intentional actually not to change things except where things had to be changed for statutory compliance. Phase 2 is very different in its approach. We are going to have discussions about and consider intentionally changing the regulations to either restrict things you currently allow or allow things you currently don't allow, or perhaps strengthen requirements, add flexibility to the regulations, and so forth. And we've scheduled this out for roughly a year, with our work concluding as early as March of next year of 2027. And that involves us going through major topic areas of the regulations. So the entire document, the entire set of regulations will be reviewed and put on the table for discussion and considered for amendment, which isn't to say that everything needs to be amended or will be amended, but everything will be on the table for consideration. And that begins with any regulation that we have that is relevant towards environmental protection or environmental issues, whether it be your soil and erosion control regulations, anything surrounding stormwater, preservation, protection of trees, landscaping requirements, and so forth. Anything related to the Gateway District and really anything that its primary purpose is environmental protection. So that is actually fairly comprehensive in its scope because it addresses or is related to many sections of your regulations. Whereas the items that follow from there are a little more directly associated with particular sections of your regulations, such as your residential zones, right? And housing, because the issue of housing can be somewhat independent of your residential zones, but we're going to address that work all at the same time. And then what follows from there is your commercial industrial zones. And then your site design, landscaping, parking, and signage standards. So these are everything on a site that's outside and that is separate from a building, followed by your administrative content and permit requirements, site plan requirements, procedural requirements. And that's the back end of your document, your regulations as it is. And of course, we have an adoption process to go through, and you're now, very familiar with what that looks like, having very recently adopted phase 1 of the amendments, and it's a very similar process that would follow. Now, unlike phase 1, community engagement is going to be very central to this work because we really need to involve the community in some decision making and better understand the issues that they perceive should be the focus of our work. And so I have a separate document I'll switch to in just a moment, and we can discuss what that community engagement looks like. But I do want to provide a little more detail on these tasks. So before I do that, does anyone have any questions or comments at this point before I continue?
Francisco, these.
Yes.
Everybody gets 3 boxes, meaning that, all these tasks are signed the 3 months, discussion window. What if we
Correct.
think that certain ones are gonna take less and the others will take a lot longer? Should we do an
Yeah.
adjustment now or later?
I think we could do it later. I'm typically not rigid in my approach because for what you're suggesting, we might find some items, there's not a lot of work to be done and we can get through it quicker. And then others might be far more involved and they need 4 months or whatever it may be. But you bring up a very important point, and that is what does that work cycle look like? So I just want to go down in the document. So here is, if you can imagine zooming in on one of those 3-month work items or work phases. That begins with a process of discovery, and essentially we go through your zoning regulations. We take a look at what other communities are doing, best practices that are out there, any contextual information that's relevant to that particular topic or section of your regulations. And we assemble all those findings into a presentation to share with you so that we've got a starting point for that discussion. We'll then first review those findings with our project management team, which has been working with both Paul and Eric on that. And then, based upon the outcome of that discussion, once we decide that it really addresses many of the issues that we need to address, we'll bring it to you, to the full commission for discussion. And at that point, those need to be very productive working meetings. And if I were to go back to the schedule I just showed, you'll see they're laid out roughly every other month. And those are really intended to be working meetings. We would recommend that they be conducted either on an evening per your regular schedule, that you have a light agenda. If not, schedule a special meeting so that we can afford to take 2 hours or whatever time we need as necessary. Coming out of those meetings presumably with some direction from those, we would then draft the recommended amendments. So we would prepare all those changes based upon the guidance that you provide us. And what that looks like is different than what you've seen in phase 1, because what you saw in phase 1 essentially was the entire set of regulations prepared into a new format and packaged as one entire piece of work. Here, we are going to be moving through the regulations topic by topic, issue by issue, article or section by section. And a lot of this work can exist independently. And what I mean by that is you don't necessarily need to adopt everything it is that we might prepare as a recommended amendment in order for this process to be successful. And what I mean by that is we might discuss an idea or something that needs to be addressed. And in order for you to fully understand that, my team really needs to draft all the language for it, provide a description of how it would work, the potential impacts it has, how it relates to your plan of conservation and development. We really need to give it enough shape so you fully understand it. And then you're in the position to make a decision about what to do with that recommended amendment. And that's why we call it that. It's a recommended amendment. We recommend that you consider amending your regulations as recommended. And you've got options at that point. And in the communities I've worked in the past, we've taken the same approach. It's been successful. And we've left some amendments behind. We've left them on the table, either because we already had a full slate of items that the commission felt was as much as they wanted to move forward with at one time. and they wanted to take a wait and see approach on it. Or they had just decided that at that time it was just an issue that they weren't interested in pursuing, and they maybe wanted to revisit it a couple of years down the road. So I anticipate that we could have as many as 20 separate recommended amendments come out of this process. In our work in Stonington, we developed about over 50, and we brought about 35 of them forward to adoption, which were adopted a few months ago and are now effective. And we're very careful in that work that as we're drafting these recommended amendments, we're cognizant of any potential effects it might have on other amendments that are recommended. But we found it effective to really break the work up into these individual pieces. That way it's not a take it or leave it proposition. Either you make all the changes or you don't make any changes at all. So going back to our schedule, coming out of this third month, coming out of that meeting, we would draft these amendments in this memorandum form. And it could be that that 3-month period of time results in one recommended amendment. Everything is captured in one recommended amendment, or it could be that there are 5 individual recommended amendments that address different issues related to that larger topic. Each one of these documents is intended to be an individual application, if it were, that you would bring to your meeting, to a public hearing for adoption. And it could be packaged into a larger application, but each one would be an individual item that you could vote up or down on. Each one, I describe it as a memorandum, and you may be able to see here, I'll enlarge it so you can see a little better. We've got the purpose. So the purpose of the recommended amendments, what are we trying to address? Why are we recommending that amendment? A description of it in layman's terms. What does this do? How does it change things? The geographic extent, is this unique to a particular zone, a particular area, or is it town-wide? Is it consistent with your POCD? Does your POCD recommend this? Does it say anything about this general topic? Is it silent on the issue? Is there anything in your POCD that is potentially it conflicts with? And of course, we don't want that to happen. And then contextual information, that's usually, that can be related to changes in statute, to trends, to best practices, to the bigger picture. It's really the bigger picture, help us understand how this fits in with how land use regulation is evolving. And then finally, we provide the exact text. What sections need to be amended, the section number, what text needs to be redrafted, what text needs to be added, what text needs to be removed. So that would contain all of the information you would need to then, if adopted, to amend your regulations, and we'd know exactly how to do that, what sections need to be amended. And that this would comprise everything you would need to adopt an amendment. Now, when we think about the overall process, and I'll zoom out a little bit here and go back to our schedule.
Francisco, before you move on from that,
Yeah,
a quick
go ahead.
question.
Please do. Please do.
In our subcommittee meeting, we identified another potential topic for that list of items you had on the memorandum, that being interdependencies. So would this change trigger any required changes elsewhere in the regulations, or would they be dependent on changes in others?
Yes, we will note that, and I could certainly provide a line item specific to that. But we will note if there's an interdependency between this recommended amendment and another one, so that we know that if they don't both move forward, then a certain type of adjustment needs to be made, or if there are 2 amendments. Usually, if there are 2 amendments that are inextricably linked, they really need to both move forward for them to be effective, then we'll typically package them up into one recommended amendment. But sometimes there are impacts, and sometimes they're very minor. It's like a section needs to be renumbered or moved to make way, or or some wording needs to change somewhere else in order for something to work. And we typically do identify that within these documents, and it'll typically be one of these numbered items that follow.
Thank you.
I have a,
Sure.
sorry,
That's a
Michael,
great
go ahead.
question. Yeah.
Francisco, Michael Barnes here. I have a quick question. How do you,
Sure.
I guess, what's the basis of the recommendations of the amendments? Like you said, in Stonington, you had 50. How did you,
Yeah.
is that like, I guess, what's the basis for how you decide where those 50 are or what those 50 are?
Sure. Well, that represented about 2 years worth of work there. And we had a commission that was interested in making extensive changes to the way they regulated land, and our schedule and budget reflected that as well. But that direction came primarily from the commission. And we did as we've recommended here, we did community engagement as part of that, and it was informed by the community engagement work that we did as well. And that community engagement looked very similar to what we've proposed for you, including online survey and workshops and some presentations, et cetera. But the commission took a strong leadership position on it, and they provided us direction, and we followed their lead.
Francisco,
go
I just
ahead.
have a quick question.
Sure,
You've given us
sure.
a detailed, engagement plan for the community or stakeholders.
Yeah.
But I don't see that in this document, the recommended phase 2. So I was just wondering, do you incorporate that? And the reason I'm bringing this up is, this is pretty straightforward, but if a community member, the general public looked at this, they'd say, well, where does it say anything about stakeholder engagement? So I'm just looking at the discovery phase, and if there's just something you should say during discovery, that this is during the discovery phase, that's where the stakeholder engagement would be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great point, and I would recommend, I provided them as separate files just for the ease of comparison and ease of use for all of you.
Yeah.
I'd recommend if we make this available on the town's website, we just combine these files, and so that it's more comprehensive. I could even provide a paragraph, and we could think of these more as sections of the phase 2 process rather than separate or independent processes.
Yeah, I just didn't want to have that where you have it, you have like the task, in place. So it says task phase discovery project. I just didn't want to lose the stakeholder engagement piece.
Yeah, I
and not to
understood.
get into the details of it here, because we have a whole, another page, 4 or 5 pages on stakeholder engagement. But I didn't want to lose it here.
Yep.
Just if people are looking at like, oh, what are we doing now? We're doing discovery. Oh, what are we doing now? We're doing project management. But I wanted to make sure that people understood that during that process, before you came to the commission and before we prepared amendments, that the stakeholder engagement process was going to be here.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make sure.
Understood. Yep.
So
Yeah,
Francisco,
Yes.
who's doing the discovery? Is it you and your company is
Yes,
doing the discovery?
That's correct. It's our team. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not us.
No, we bring those findings back to you for discussion with you. And we're going to look for you to act as a sounding board, based upon, your knowledge of the community, your knowledge of the issues, your position as a representative of the community. And we're doing all the legwork, but we're really looking to you to provide that direction to us. These are our findings, right? Where do you want to go with this?
Do you record that stuff so that if we wanted to listen to it and hear what you heard, that we could hear it too?
Yeah, we typically do when the meetings are held virtually. We always record them and we make those recordings available. And typically they're, we'll have if the town, can post them online, we make them available to the general public. And our commission has found it helpful to be able to go back and review discussions, and for commissioners that may have missed a meeting to be able to go back and review and get caught up. So that's been very effective. When we conduct them in person, we well, of course, if you're having a meeting, you're recording and whatever, as you're required to record for your meetings. But we typically also provide a summary of decisions made and of actionable items from each of those meetings.
I meant when you were doing your discovery, those are all going to be recorded too, so we could listen to your discovery.
Well, so our discovery is just us, at desktops.
Oh, I see. I don't mean that. I mean, when you're out there talking to the people, you were
So-
having a,
Yeah, I see. So you're talking about the community engagement process. So our
Yeah.
discovery is a little more technical in nature. It does, the community engagement process is part of that. But much of our work involves reading through your regulations, doing research on best practices specific to that topic issue, reviewing zoning regulations from other communities that are addressing a similar issue in an innovative way. And so it's a lot of research, data, information, and synthesizing, and then really packaging that into a format that you can quickly get up to speed and comprehend it, and which is why we use PowerPoint for that. Community engagement certainly is part of the discovery process. It's not necessarily going to follow this exact schedule for these technical topics, which is one reason why we've got a separate schedule, but it does precede much of this work. We really need to have those come before we make decisions on how to move forward on these various issues. We really need to consult with the community. So the schedule is parallel, and it's really, if I could just switch quickly to the community engagement schedule, and we can start this from the beginning, but very quickly for your benefit. We really want to get out in front of the community right away with a survey, because those are great at promoting awareness, great at inviting people into the process. It's not a big commitment on their behalf, getting people to think about the issues. And it's a great way for us to collect some baseline information and have an understanding as to what the most important issues are to people and what their perspective is on those. And a survey is a great way, as I said, to generate interest and help promote workshops. So we want to do those workshops in the first half of this year-long process so that it can inform the rest of the process. And as we get started with a workshop, and what we've recommended is that first workshop be focused on environmental issues, then we could proceed with that environmental work, which is why they're scheduled in that sequence, so that we could follow that work with you, and the discovery process is aligned with when we're doing these workshops with the community. And I hope that answered your question.
sort of. So if we're going to recommend
Yep.
to you areas that we're
Yes.
interested in, we better
Yes.
hurry up and do so. Am I getting the
Well,
message right?
I hesitate to say hurry, because we do have close to a year at our disposal.
Yep.
And we're going to take it piece by piece. So I hesitate to say hurry, but it is incredibly important that throughout this process that we get that guidance from you.
Okay.
To a certain extent, some of those were surfaced during the last year of
They
the technical
were.
review, where we
They-
were pulling issues aside and saying, okay, this needs to move to phase
Yeah.
2.
There's actually a folder in the basket over there that has all the materials that we received so far we didn't know what to do with,
Yeah.
that we're just put in that folder, and now we're going to sort of dig out of the folder and make use of. And we told people at the time, okay, a little premature, but we'll hang on to it and use it later, and now is beginning of later, so.
Francisco, just so I'm clear. So
Yes.
as part of the process, you're going to be viewing our plan of conservation and development.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
addition.
That'll be one of the first things that we do, and and other relevant planning documents like your stormwater management plan. And we did take a cursory review at that as part of our phase 1 work, but we'll dive much deeper into that. And that's very important to our work. Your POCD is intended to be foundational to your zoning. It's intended to guide your land development policy and your zoning regulations. So it's really important that we're familiar with that, and that we revisit that in decision making as well. Which isn't to say that it necessarily is going to, even though it's a comprehensive plan, that it addresses all of the issues. But to the extent that there's work that the community did, this commission did, and others across the town did and invested in that, and to provide direction to the community and to the town, we certainly want to move that work forward and build upon that.
Oh, I really thank you for that because I really have not seen this format before, so it really helps clarify that in my mind.
Yeah.
So in your work in other towns, have you seen where, particularly in towns that have separate planning and zoning commissions, where the POCD has to be revised based on zoning rewrites?
That's a fantastic question, and that issue has come up, not extensively, but on very specific issues. We had done some work in Woodbury where we actually did their POCD first and then moved on to their zoning update, and which is really the ideal sequence to do this work. And the truth of the matter is there was an issue that simply had not surfaced during the update of the POCD. We hadn't anticipated it. And then when we got to the zoning work, we understood that, wow, the POCD really should provide support for this. And there they had a separate planning and zoning commission. So we went back to the planning commission and said, hey, through our work with the zoning commission, we found this issue, and it surrounded housing, multifamily housing. And we advise that we amend the recently adopted POCD and its future land use plan to support this particular change in the zoning regs. And so that's the process we went through. And I would expect we may, there's a chance that we may come across a similar issue in the course of our work here. And of course, you don't have to wait every 10 years to amend or update your POCD. You can do that on an ongoing basis. But it is good. And this isn't necessarily an issue for content that is absent in your POCD, where your POCD is just silent on the issue. It's more where your POCD is very clear and specific in its direction, and you're trying to do something a little different. You're tracking in another direction with what you want to do with the zoning, where I feel it's important to reconcile that.
Thank you.
And just way of clarification, as staff of the planning commission, there was discussion over the last several months. Howard Margulis wanted to propose that this commission wait while the planning commission overhaul entirely the POCD. So similar to what Francisco was talking about in the other town, the commission as a whole decided that was not the path they wanted to take. They did suggest that if there were specific items in the POCD that needed to be amended, that they would take those items up based on whatever was coming out of what the zoning commission was doing. But they didn't want to delay the process by starting from scratch with the POCD.
Okay. Francisco, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just on the outreach, how does it work for, I see you said the surveys, like specifically are the surveys sent to every property owner in town? Is it as a note card? Is it an email?
So first, these are not statistically valid surveys, and we don't need them to be for our purposes because we're not setting policy based on the survey results. It's not like a referendum or anything to that effect. The most effective way is through a good promotional campaign. The mailings, if we had a project that had a huge direct expense budget, several $1,000s, we could certainly conduct mailings or a phone survey, but that's very, very costly, and that would come at the expense of our workshops. But we've gotten very good participation in online surveys. So typically it's hosted online. I'm sure you've taken one before. It's like a Survey Monkey type format. And we've gotten very good participation through really strong social media promotion. press releases, although that continues to be diminishing returns on print media. But social media continues to be extremely effective, as well as email blasts to any listservs that the town has or any other communities locally. Printed flyers, we get pretty good bounce from when we put printed flyers out at libraries, town hall, whatever it may be, community centers, senior centers. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, we've gotten good, very good participation. Several hundred people, 1,000+ people, in communities about your size.
So I guess on the surveys, some surveys I've taken, you only have the option to answer the selected boxes that are on the survey. Whereas if somebody wants to, so I guess who's determining what questions are going on that survey to determine? That's my concern, is that I'm thinking about commercial property owners. I don't know where most changes come from in your zoning rewrites and other municipalities. Is it heavy on the commercial zoning that's getting rewritten? Is it heavy on the residential, or is it a mixed bag? I just want to know if there's a way for us, if we're going to be doing any major changes to the commercial industrial zones, if there is a specific method that we can use to maybe, we don't have that many commercial properties and industrial properties in this town. So I don't know if that's something that needs to be point specific, like a certified mail saying, hey, we're going to change this zone. Your feedback would be appreciated.
All those things are certainly possible. That there's a cost associated with all of them. We have a budget that I'm working within. But it is helpful that your commercial zones are relatively small, and as you suggested, there's a fixed number of properties, so that it makes it more viable to do mailings or something to that effect. It may be that I'm not familiar with any active business associations or groups in town, but that if there's anything to that effect, then working through those groups or associations can be very effective as well. I know sometimes we'll work with the Chamber of Commerce to promote awareness of any surveys. With respect to the survey questions, how we arrive at those, we do a lot of surveys for all types of projects, including plans of conservation and development and zoning work, of course. So we have a certain baseline types of questions that we would typically ask of any community, and that's a starting point. But we're also, again, we want to look to you, to the commission, to understand some of the questions that you might want answered. And so we would welcome, questions that you might want to ask, and you don't necessarily need to have them formulated completely, but just give us a sense as to what issues you would love to get some community response on. With respect to the questions themselves, we're pretty good at designing these surveys so as not to, kind of lead the witness, if you will, so that people have an opportunity to respond with a variety of response options, including open-ended responses. And we usually learn our most from those open-ended responses, where it may be a yes or no question or an other, or if we provide someone an opportunity, if yes, tell us why, or if no, tell us why. And that information can be incredibly informative and typically more than just a simple yes or no in terms of understanding the issues. So we typically provide a range of questions, some multiple choice, some yes, no, some open-ended, some ranking. Your variety is really important. If it's the same thing over and over again, people lose interest, they don't finish the survey. And to that effect, survey can't be too long. We need to be strategic. If it takes more than 10 minutes, people won't finish it. So there's definitely an ideal length. And we've done this lots of times, so we're pretty good at designing surveys so that they're effective. People finish them, they feel that it was productive and worthwhile, and they weren't forced into answering questions that they felt were framed in any way, or loaded questions. So we're very sensitive to that.
Thank you.
You just.
Yeah, you turn the waterfall off. Yes, thank you.
Am I making noise again?
Yeah.
It was good. You muted your mic, so we're fine. Thanks.
Well,
And
we
enjoy
muted
your
this
visit to Niagara Falls, by the way.
Can you hear me okay?
We're not getting a clear answer from you. You're garbled.
I'm going to try again.
You're fine. We can hear you fine. It's just in between when you're not speaking. If you could mute, it'd be helpful
Okay.
because there's a little background noise.
Honestly, I wanted to make you aware that our Shoreline Gateway Committee a couple of years ago had done a survey that got an amazing response, actually over 1,900 respondents.
Oh, great. Good.
Targeted the business community along the shoreline. So two things. I think it would be important to incorporate the results of that into your discovery. And the other would be that they might have some practices they develop to target the business community and generate that kind of response rate. I'll stop now.
Okay, thank you for offering that information. It's very helpful to know.
So Francisco, let me just summarize a couple of things on the
Sure.
community engagement plan that we talked about. As Eric let you know, there was three of us met, Mary, myself, and Mike with Eric to go over what you put out. And we thought it was great. Just wanted to let you to go over a couple of things. I think overall, it would be great to call it a stakeholder engagement plan rather than just a community, because we also want to make sure that we're bringing in community kind of talks about the general public, and we want that, but there's also other stakeholders, like, for example, a public works department, which may not be, people may not see that as the community. Right. So we just want to make sure it's stakeholder. So we love so the community workshops, we were really looking at those 3 sessions being the community, the public, general public coming in. So we appreciate that. You had optional things. One was the survey and one was the focus groups. We don't want that optional. We want to do the survey and we want to do the focus work groups. And we were looking at the focus groups as being those other stakeholders like commissions, boards, staff, the regional, like the Gateway Commission, the COG, any state agency we may need to bring in. If there's any non-government agency we needed to bring in and talk to. So we were looking at those focus groups and using them that way. And it may be that it's not, that we may need, depending on what it is, we may need to do more than one, but those are kind of where we went. So I wanted to make sure that we captured those. And then I think one of the important points we want to just make sure people have is people want to make sure that if they're submitting information, whether it be to, town hall, to Eric's department, or to you, that how do we get it? So we want to make sure that on the website that we have some place where people can, if they provide us written comments, it's on the website, so that we just have, these are all the comments we've received to date, and people so that everybody can get them. So if I have, the planning commission sent something in and they want to make sure that every commission member has it, every commission member plus every member of the public will be able to see what comments we have received as we're going through this discovery process, this community engagement stakeholder process. So we want to make sure and outside of the public, the public hearing. And then the last, I think, major point, because otherwise it's like everything's really here, is the public hearing. You kind of had that, an information session originally before that. And I think now you're saying an update summary. We want to clearly have, here's all the amendments that we're going to, move forward, that we know that as a commission, we're going to, kind of end, if you will, end the discovery collection period and move these to public hearing, and that the public hearing will get kicked off by a presentation on what all of those changes are, so that it's very, very clear that, people have that, because we don't want to be getting now comments kind of that in the discovery period, if you just put something up, information, they start commenting on it, but it's not during the public hearing. So we want to make sure we have a really clear demarcation and again, kind of like DEP kicks things off like a public hearing, that we kind of say, do a thing that says, here's the public hearing and this is what the changes to the regs are, so that we kind of do
Right.
that up front during that public hearing process.
Okay. Yeah, that was our understanding, which why we amended this as we did.
Yeah.
With respect
I
to
just
the
want
optional,
to make it clear. And I also
Yeah.
want to make sure that the commission member all heard that, because not everybody was at that meeting, so.
yeah. With respect to the optional items, they're optional because they're not currently included within our scope of services. So the survey, as I described already, like we're very adept at doing these. That's not a huge lift for us to get that up online, but we really look to your input as to the questions. Are we asking the right questions? Are there other questions you would like to ask? Are the response options appropriate? We would really need your involvement on that. And I would say we're happy to include that in our scope of services, right? Because we can do that fairly cost effectively. The optional focus groups, we're looking to you to host those, to conduct those and host those, because we don't have them within our scope, and then to provide us your summary of those meetings and of the findings so that it can inform our work.
Yeah, and I think that's understood, and thank you for the online survey helping. And, we have a subcommittee established with, as said, Mary and Mike and myself with Eric. And so we can definitely run that by and then make sure we get feedback from the commission as well on the survey. And then the focus groups, we understood that was something
Okay.
that we would need to take on. What we do need to have, though, is in the communication piece and the, so that we're letting people know what the focus groups are as we've kind of described them. And I'm happy to help provide, and I know I was talking with Mike earlier, language that, to amend this just a little bit, because even though we understand you might be doing it, we want to make sure everybody understands that we are doing this. So we
Okay.
want, anything that's going out to the public. So that's where
Okay.
internally we may need to know what you're doing, what we're doing, but externally we need everybody to just know we're doing all
It's
of these
being
things.
done. Understood.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And to Mary and Mike, if I missed anything, but that was kind of the summary of stuff.
And just to sort of follow up on that, I have reached out to Rivercog and they have indicated they have money in their budget to assist us with the workshop process.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just quickly in terms of what Eric was talking about, we were talking about the workshops and some of the focus groups and whatever, and, having a facilitator. So, and the COGs that they thought would be able to
Okay.
help us.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I meant focus groups, not workshops.
Yeah, so focus
Yes,
groups.
focus groups. Correct. Right.
Okay.
Can I go just back to the three boxes where we're actually in our schedule? Is
Sure,
it possible at the end of box number 1, where you guys have done your labors and arrived at what you're going to suggest? Because I heard you say that box 2 would be, you would be discussing it with Eric and Paul. Can I add that the rest of the commission would also get an email or something of whatever it was that was going to be discussed? Because there's a few curious minds on this commission that would like to start seeing it then.
Yeah, I mean, certainly at the end of these meetings, Francisco always transmits to us a memo of what occurred at the meeting. We can then turn that around and get it out to everybody just so they can see that.
Is there recordings of the meeting? So that way, that'd be a better way for us to, instead of.
It is on Teams. I have not up until now been recording those Teams calls because of, I got honestly FOIA concerns, but if you want, I can record those Teams calls and make them available. But at that point, it probably would be something I would need to put on the town's website for everyone to be aware of.
I don't know if you guys are opposed to that, but I don't see the
He
hurt.
said that he'd be making some kind of a summary that he was giving
yeah,
to you.
Yeah, I think that's
I
fine.
think a summary is fine.
At the end of his process, if he can give,
Yeah,
he's going to be discussing with you, if you just give it.
Yeah, he does produce, and again, you can back sort of, if you want to fill in additional information, Francisco, up until now, following our meetings, Francisco, he does put out a memo of this is what we discussed. Here are my points going forward. These are my actionable items. So again, that happens within a day or so of these meetings. And again, I will be happy to get those out when we have them. Okay.
But I meant at the time before he's gonna discuss it with you and you, that he's gonna give you two something at the end of his first month. That's what I'm looking to get.
It's,
Okay.
it's our summary of findings, right? That PowerPoint.
No, she's saying that if there's an agenda for these meetings that we're having, she wants to see the agenda for the meetings. We haven't really been putting together agenda, James.
You don't need to give me an agenda. I need to see what he's gonna give to you guys.
Oh, okay.
He's gotta have a work product of some kind. I just would like to start
So-
seeing it earlier, so I have an
I
extra
would
month
agree.
to cogitate it.
Okay. Okay.
So,
As we have work product from IMEG, I will give it to all of you folks to have in hand. Okay.
be great.
Yes, and a lot of our work product in this phase, we're placing that into a PowerPoint presentation. It not that it's a formal final presentation for the public. It's just a medium that is convenient to work with. It's kind of our canvas where we can place information, whether it's visual information, screenshots of the zoning regs, tables, text. We're able to put everything in one place. It's easy to get through. Everyone's pretty familiar with PowerPoint, and it's just a little more fluid than like a Microsoft Word document. And so that's kind of our canvas for this work, so to speak. And
That's fine. That would be
we're happy to, and we do intend to provide you with those discovery PowerPoints in advance of our meetings with you, so that you have an opportunity to review those, come prepared to those meetings for the discussion. Sometimes it can be beneficial that we don't send that out to you until I've had a chance to meet with Eric and Paul, just to make sure all the content is appropriate, or it's correct, or whatever it may be. It just gives us an opportunity to vet it first and really tighten it up for its presentation to you.
okay. I think we could handle it, but that's all.
Yeah, and generally speaking, through the
Take the feedback back to
yeah.
Francisco.
And generally speaking, through the course of this process, our project management meetings, Eric and Paul have played an advisory role. They've guided us, but we've tried as best we can, and this will be more so in the second phase, to reserve those big decisions for you to make as a commission, because we're all facilitating this process, but we're not necessarily the decision makers. You are as a commission.
Right, that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just looking for another month for me to do the considering.
Yeah.
Because for me, a month isn't very much, because I do not spend every day in that month doing it.
Yeah, understood.
Kind of get sandwiched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Comments?
I guess, and this is what I'm concerned about, with some of the housing information that's developing at the state level, maybe even the federal level.
Yeah.
How are we planning to deal with that on the local level while that's still developing at a higher level? What are your thoughts on that?
No, that's a very important question, and it's probably worthwhile for me to discuss the work that we're doing with RiverCog through RiverCog, and that we will actually be also coordinating with you on shortly.
Okay.
The most pressing changes have been at the state level with the Connecticut legislature in the form of Public Act 25-1 that was signed by the governor the day before Thanksgiving, late that Wednesday. And it has two significant implications for your zoning regulations. It has implications for your commercial zones, in that you now have to require some form of housing to be allowed in your commercial zones. by no more than what's being called summary review, which is somewhere in between a permitted as of right use and a special permit use, but you can't require a public hearing or a special permit for it. In that housing, that is up to 9 units you have to allow. So that's very, that's impactful, as I'm sure you all understand.
Is that per property? I'm sorry, per property?
Yeah,
or
per
acre?
property, yes, per each lot, and it's up to one, you have to allow up to one building. So we're not talking about multiple 9-unit buildings. You have to allow one building. It's effective July 1st. It doesn't mean that you have to have your zoning regulations amended by July 1st. However, if you don't have your regulations amended by then, for this particular issue, and you do have a developer come forward with an application, because you don't have regulations, they're really in the driver's seat on the process. So RiverCog, we were hired by RiverCog to work with, we're working with 13 of the 17 communities in the region, including Old Lyme. And we will be working with each community to update your zoning regulations to accommodate this and to do our best to regulate this type of growth so that it's not adversely impactful to your commercial zones. The other, and I realize there's a lot right there, and I'm happy to answer any questions about that. The other half of that is that the legislature also really hamstrung your ability to require off-street parking for residential development. It puts some very severe limitations on what and how much you can require per dwelling unit. And we are also, as part of our work with RiverCog, we're working with communities to update your parking requirements to be compliant with statute. All of that work is being fast-tracked. And so within the next 6 weeks, we will deliver recommended amendments in order to comply with statute. And make that the intention is to make it available to you as a commission to move forward with as soon as you deem fit. And I realize this may or may not be the first time you're hearing about this, but there will be some engagement forthcoming to that effect, and I expect you'll have work product and communications from Eric as to the status of that RiverCog work as well.
Yeah, actually, Francisco, go ahead. Mike, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I was just going to add quickly that thanks, Francisco, for pointing that out. When you look at PA 25-1, the first major milestone is July 2026.
It is July
we have
1,
ours.
yeah.
We have our phase 2 nominally in first quarter to mid 2027.
Yeah.
And then there's another shoe to drop in 2028 when the regional housing plans are published.
Correct.
And that's probably going to feed back again. So I just wanted to say at a macro level, this is going to go on into 28, deep into 28.
Mm-hmm.
And then there'll likely be another round of changes that are triggered by the regional housing plans, no matter what path we take to that regional housing plan, the options being to throw in with RiverCog or to go it alone. And that decision is going to be coming up in mid 27 again. So.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the Public Act 25-1, the middle housing and the parking piece, it's following a schedule that's independent from our work here, and it's compulsory. You don't really have a choice in the matter. You have some choice in exactly how it's written, how it's expressed, but there's you don't have a choice. It's not an opt-in or opt-out type thing. So that work, as I mentioned, is going to be fast-tracked, and it's going to be, while it's very much related to our work, it's going to get out in front of it, and it's going to be an independent. Of course, it's work that we're doing through the COG, so it's independent of this, even though it's very much related to everything it is that we're trying to do here.
Thank you.
Yeah, Francisco, one of the discussions we did have, and I'm sorry, I forgot to
Mhm.
bring this up. It's like I
Sure,
didn't
sure.
look at all of my notes. Was this discussion on Public Act 25-1 and that did we somewhere in our communications need to let folks understand that there's this, we're rewriting our zoning regs, but that
Yeah.
this is gonna happen right away. But then also, as Mike pointed out, there's other deadlines when they come up with this housing plan in 2 years or
Yes.
whatever, that we may need to change things again. So we just wanted to, so if you can think about how we might communicate that when we're letting people know about our zoning rewrite, because the housing, people are gonna talk, thinking about what to do about housing. And meanwhile, Public Act 25-1 is looming from multiple perspectives, but both short-term and long-term. But we need to keep our process moving forward, even with that in the background. And just quickly, our Board of Selectmen appointed a subcommittee on Public Act 25-1.
Okay.
That includes, the zoning commission, the Affordable Housing Commission, and the Planning Commission. So members from
Okay.
each of those are, and they appointed a special committee that's looking at that.
That's good to know. I was not aware of that. That's very helpful to know. Okay, very good, very good. Yes, incredibly important points that you make, and we'll be sure in our communications to make it clear, because it's going to get confusing to people, and confusion makes things alarming, and we don't want people to be alarmed. But there's a lot going on at the same time, and it's important that we clarify that the purpose of this work as related to, but separate from compliance with the Public Act and the work that's being done through RiverCog, and then the work that's down the road that will result from the housing growth plans. That we need to explain that to people. And so I think, preparing communications is part of our scope. And if I go back to our community or stakeholder engagement document, we have, we put it down here now, community engagement materials. So we're going to provide content and narrative for your town website, and we do recommend a dedicated webpage on the website, on the town website dedicated to this. I know we have some content, some links up there now, but we really need a paragraph or two that explains how this work is related to and yet separate from Public Act 25-1 work being done through RiverCog, and make people aware of the future work that may need to be done with respect to housing growth plan. It could be a couple of years, it will be a couple of years down the road. So yeah, these are all really important issues to understand, and we need to adequately communicate that as well.
Thank you.
Sure, sure.
Okay, are we all set as a commission with Francisco?
Thank you. It was really
Good.
helpful.
Thank you very
That
much.
was great,
Good, I'm-
Francisco. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, happy to do it. So we'll update these documents as we discussed, get those back to you, and we're gonna get this thing started. And I look forward to working with you all on this phase of the work.
Thanks. Appreciate
Okay.
it.
Good night, everyone. Have a nice
Good
evening.
night.
Not every email.
What documents?
The ones that we're looking at on the screen.
Yes, they were emailed to you.
I didn't get.
Yeah.
I didn't-
I'm not sure that you sent them out, Eric.
Okay.
Or
I will-
did you just send, did we just send them to the subcommittee?
No, but he gave updated ones, but when you sent it to me, I said, make sure you send it to the whole commission.
And Craig should have done that this afternoon. If he didn't do that, I will make sure this all gets out. But I mean,
Okay.
I've been trying to get Craig to do some of this stuff while I do other things.
It's fine. I mean, it was nice to have it on the screen, but we did not get them.
I will confirm it was sent out to everyone. Okay.
Who was appointed from the selectmen for the zoning?
I don't know. Who's on that?
You asked me and Mike to serve.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the one.
That's
Right.
it.
So yeah, those two, Mike and,
There we are.
there's too much going on.
I know.
That'd be a full-time job, Denise.
Yes.
And Michael and Sheila Riffle are appointed to the HOG Special
Okay.
Housing Committee on
Okay.
that.
Okay. And Harold and not Harold, Howard, rather Howard, and a new member, Reggio, Michael Reggio, I believe it is, are going to be the representatives of the planning commission on the joint group as well. Okay. And Howard has also attended at RiverCog, so he's been a rep there in the past.
Great.
Okay, so I think we're ready for Miami Beach.
Yeah. So municipal coastal
Are we
site
gonna
plan review.
vote on the 26th at HC? Did we vote that?
I think you
I
voted
thought
it,
we
yeah.
did,
Oh, we did?
because
Yep.
that had a,
You-
that has a.
That had the conditional approval, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You can set if you want.
I don't think we need all 80 sheets, but.
Okay, that's fine. I'll just, and here's your report.
He's right.
I got 2 more copies back there if you need them, so.
You want to pay for it?
That's blind count.
Today.
Oh, it's the 6th.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Lynn Ray and this is Walter Dielig. Who's our, I'm the project manager. He's the project engineer. And we're here on behalf of Miami Beach Association for their sewer and association improvement project. Let's see if I can advance this right here. And we're just going to go over some background on the project. And we also have some overviews of the plans as well that we can go into detail on. Just some information is in the application. So the project's located in the Miami Beach Association neighborhood. It consists of like a fully developed residential area in the coastal community with a network of narrow roads, some existing storm drainage infrastructure, and individual on-site septic systems. The project that's being proposed is entirely in existing public rights-of-way and previously disturbed areas within a 7.23 acre area. And the site's also influenced by tidal waters, including Swan Brook. The neighborhood is essentially currently served by aging infrastructure with failing or undersized storm drainage pipes, CMPs and PVC, and individual septic systems with long-term maintenance and water quality concerns. And it's currently under a CT deep consent order. Let me just go to the next slide.
Can you tell me when that consent order was done?
Is it 2020?
The permanent. So I thought it did.
I want to say 2021, but
That's
we don't know.
doesn't look like it's done.
I can look it up for you and get right back to you. I wanted to say 2021, but that could be incorrect. There was a delay with the project due to COVID. The Miami Beach Association improvements is part of a coordinated regional network of with Old Lyme Shores Beach Association and Old Colony Beach Association to construct the public sanitary sewer system within each one of the neighborhoods. This one in particular is focused strictly on Miami Beach Association. But the systems essentially will connect a shared sewer that conveys flow to wastewater treatment facility in New London. And the town control Soundview area will also connect into the system, and that's also under a separate CT deep consent order, which I'll get back to you on.
So can I just stop you for?
The town's not under consent order right now.
Yeah.
Understood. So each neighborhood, as you called it, will be coming to us then separately.
So there was already previously approved, under a special permit, for Old Lyme zoning in February of 2022 that included the other two associations.
We did that during COVID. It was hard, but
Yeah, so Miami Beach just happened to not be,
It was never
ready to kind of feed into that. So the other two were already approved under that. And that was in February 14th, 2022. Yeah, so the neighborhood is looking for the individual septic systems. And this, like I said, the Swan Brook. Just go to the next slide. I can just show you also some of the photos of within Miami Beach. Two of the crossings that are near Swan Brook are Liberty and Clifton Street crossings, which we'll go through a little bit in a little bit more detail in the next few slides over what's being actually proposed.
These are all the existing conditions.
Yeah, these are existing conditions. Okay. So this is just a little bit about the purpose and need. Just needing to comply with the consent order through DEEP for the construction of the sewer, improve storm drainage, and also the tidal crossings, replace those crossings with 3-sided box culvert. And those are at Clifton and Liberty Street. Let's go to the next slide. Okay.
So to run through the proposed activity, so the sewer, as Lynn mentioned, is going to be within the existing right of ways of the road. The installation of the sewer, the final conditions will be put back as the repaving of the roadway as it is currently. The installation will be open cut on all roads except for Corsino Avenue up to Liberty Street, in which it will be directionally drilled. And directionally drilled is a non-open cut installation method.
so we don't know what either of those mean. Can you help?
Yeah, so the open cut would be with a regular excavator digging into the soil and making a whole trench system. While directional drilling, you would dig on one end and then you dig on the other, and you would horizontally drill through the soil with limited impacts between those 2 points.
Okay.
And so that would limit any of the erosion sediment control or disturbances to your inland wetlands or tidal wetlands or any of the other protected areas along. So just to give you a plan view look up close, one of the sheets. This is just a general view of the sheet. Hopefully everyone can see this. But here in the dark black line here is the sewer system. That in between the other black lines here, and I can bring this closer. Some of this may be a little tough to see, but this is the edge of road here and here. So here's the sewer itself that is going to be installed in between the existing pavement edge of road lines. And that's consistent to the majority of the streets here, as they're all asphalt currently. And then sewer laterals would extend from that sewer to the property lines themselves.
And just for clarification, is this exactly the same approach that the other neighborhoods?
Correct.
Yep. Is this, to your point, to piggyback on that, is this the same proposal that the zoning commission approved initially?
We never did.
I thought we did.
No,
Oh,
we
no, we
did.
didn't do Miami. We
Yeah,
did.
so
I
Miami
retract
was,
that, right.
you may remember,
We were still
Miami
chatting about it.
was submitted.
Right.
It was submitted and then in December of 2021, I think.
Yeah.
And then in January, they, took the application back because there was, they wanted to get also the SDF in and the structures dredge and fill. There was another, we're gonna go through it later. I'm gonna walk you through the permits because it's very complicated.
The special problem was that that this section had problems with water.
Mhm.
Right,
The others
surface water,
did
right.
not.
But yeah, nothing changed from that initial application. So the other special permit with the other two,
Old
Yeah.
Colony and.
that one was, yeah, that one was approved with the condition of this, you know what I mean, being, approved later.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So I guess if you are, if in this application, there's anything different, because I wasn't on the commission at the time, that is different from the other neighborhoods, would you mind pointing that out to us?
Oh, yeah. But I think it's more than that. This is, and I think this is what's confusing everybody. There was a petition, permit issued for the sewer because that impacted everybody, but you're also putting in stormwater stuff that is different than the other folks.
The other ones do have storm drainage as well.
Yeah,
They were just part of a prior package that was approved.
Yeah.
Miami Beach just wasn't included in that package
Yeah.
because at that time there was other permits and their plan set had lagged behind.
so, but you're seeking a separate permit from us at this point.
Correct, for the Miami Beach.
Yes.
Because we don't have a case number assigned to this, so it's not just updating the other permit. This is a new permit application,
It would be this would be a new separate approval.
coastal site plan,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
And so
yes.
do we have a number for it? Or are we,
Well, we could assign a number for it. It doesn't have a number yet, but
okay, well, I guess what I'm saying is, do we have a number so that, like, where are we with, I'm just trying to figure out the process before we hear the details. It's a
We-
coastal site plan,
it is a coastal site plan and it's been sent to Deep. We have not got comments back from Deep yet at this point in time.
okay,
It's during the 35-day window.
Yeah, we're still in the 35-day statutory review period for the deep, because we submitted that to you in
Yeah.
last month.
so do we, I guess with where they are we expected to approve tonight, or are we looking to?
Well, since you have not heard back from Deep, you certainly can wait to see what Deep says. I'm not expecting Deep to say much because it's all more or less in the streets. But if you would, given the magnitude of what we're talking about, if you want to wait for Deep's comments, then you can hear it, continue it based on whatever Deep has to say. But I think it's worth at least getting stuff on the record tonight, since we're here, we have it,
Well, that's why I was surprised, like I said, all of a sudden I'm looking and it didn't have a case number on it, so I
So
was
did
just.
we have Jacobson or somebody equivalent helping us last time when we did the other two? We had
Yeah,
somebody.
this is huge.
We had, I believe we did.
okay.
Yeah, it was, no, it was Tom Metcalf.
Tom Metcalf.
Somebody-
Yeah, this is before you hired Jacobson,
Yeah, right.
and I think this is before I got here,
It was.
so,
So Tom Metcalf, I believe.
This is gonna be more than we can do ourselves.
okay. I will send the package out to, at this point, Jacobson, since Metcalf's retired. So,
And he can reference, I guess, what Tom did. Or how Tom went about it, or
okay,
maybe he doesn't even need that, but
Cause I think, and this may have, was my misunderstanding. I thought it was that the permit had expired and we were just looking to extend it, not that we needed a whole new permit, so.
yeah, I was also unclear as to what we were doing here tonight, and I apologize that it doesn't seem to have gotten the attention it deserved here, but we will send it up to Jacobson. It already has been referred out to Deep. We have not heard back. If you want to continue it to next month, that's okay. I will get comments in
Okay,
in the interim, and let's just move.
just so that we know what our process is, thanks.
No, I understand. I just. So the.
want to go through this.
Yeah.
Yeah, oh,
Yeah, let's
definitely.
get this.
Yeah,
let's-
cause if we have any questions that we can, he's gonna be sent to the engineer, but we might have questions that come up.
Right,
So the other proposed activity is the storm drainage or stormwater improvements. That consists of existing replacement of storm water piping within the existing footprint on Columbus and Washington Avenues. The enlargement of storm drainage piping along Corsino, Biscayne Boulevard, Clifton Street and Pond Road. There'll be catch basin installations along Corsino and Lincoln Road. And then the extension of the stormwater system past its current extent in Miami Beach.
forgive my ignorance,
No.
but that's not gonna be pumped into the sanitary system, right?
No, it is not.
Are they going to actually redo the crib again or the?
That is actually out.
Drainage into Long Island Sound?
You're talking about the outfall that's actually in.
Crib, yeah,
That's actually outside of Miami Beach's property boundary. That's in Hartung, or excuse me, not Hartung, Hawks Nest Beach.
So
then
basically.
we're making larger catch basins to catch more water, but if it can't go anywhere,
Yeah, where is it going?
yeah, it goes up to the.
It would go to Swan Avenue and then out to Long
Long Island
Island.
Sound.
So is anybody considering what the impacts of this additional drainage or same drainage is gonna have on? Where's it going?
Yeah, it's actually gonna improve hence the consent order, you know what I mean? Because they're in existing septic. So it's actually gonna lessen the discharge velocity because the, pipe size is gonna be bigger, you know what I mean? So it'll actually help with the flow and the discharge. It'll actually help with water quality because, you're not gonna be discharging the septic, you know what I mean? It's gonna be part of a sanitary sewer system.
Is it still
But
gonna,
it's,
how is it gonna go there? Cause everything's so flat. Is there no? How does the water?
it's currently a tidal system.
Mhm.
And,
Yes.
and it's currently restricted by the accumulation of sand and silt in the, what they call the so-called crib, the outlet to Long Island Sound. So the question I have is, you're gonna make bigger catch basins to catch more water, but if it can't get out, what does it do?
It accumulates.
Yeah, yeah,
Or backs up?
or, well, which it,
Well, that's what's
so
gonna
I
happen.
don't see it
So
alleviating
this is the
anything.
question. Does it flood during non-tidal events? Or is it so that it's basically a rainfall event? Or so is that what we're trying to take care of? Or does it flood during major events where we also have tidal flooding?
There are some.
And there's a whole combination of
Combination of
both.
both,
So
because
I
now
guess
they're-
that's where we want to make sure that
And
we're looking.
So
at
within
all of that.
the application, there is a storm drainage memorandum that was put together that outlined different options for the association that showed improvements to the system. Now, obviously, we are so close to the ocean,
Mhm.
and as you said, you can't get the water out if the water's coming in.
Mhm.
So it's more of a quicker evacuation of the water after the storm.
So it'll still flood.
Yeah,
It will still flood.
Unless you fill it.
No, you're not right.
It's gonna get out faster is the.
I know when we
is
did.
the-
Okay, so
it'll reduce the
we did
potential
Hartford Avenue
discharge.
Storm drainage when, didn't exactly enlarge the piping, but there was a specific type of pipe that we used when I was a selectman that filtered the water. So there was a reason for doing that. It was cleaner. Do we have any of that data? All I see is that you're gonna make it larger. How can you show us that it's really cleaner?
So the cleaner, as Lynn said, is all those septic systems being abandoned
Mhm.
properly. And then that wastewater being collected and actually brought to a pump station and evacuated out of the area. So currently, because groundwater seasonally high is about 2 feet,
Mhm.
and all those leach fields and the water, when the groundwater touches it, it's pulling that pollutant into the storm drainage system of Swan Avenue, or excuse me, Swan Brook, and out to Long Island Sound.
So how is the project phased in terms of, because obviously if you don't have the sewers in, that's not gonna be the case. So is it from a phasing perspective, you would not do the stormwater improvements until the sewer were going in, or at least we know that there's gonna be a construct, you know what I'm saying? Because right now, we're not sure where the sewers are from a funding perspective. So we don't want to do the stormwater stuff without the sewer, so.
It's an all-in-one, so the sewers have to go, the storm drainage would follow, the roads would get reconstructed. So they would also construct the sewers first, then come in and do the storm drainage, just in that same order of importance here. DEP, from the same perspective, has stated their main concern is the sewer, and they want to see that constructed. And I can just show just a typical sheet of the storm drainage as well, similar to the sewer one. This is on the same street as Porcino that I showed for the sewer. The main improvements just stop here at Lincoln Road. And it's just catch basins here and pipe going down. As we would have the removal of the existing ones and then the new ones just being moved farther up.
So that's all there is for the improvements on the stormwater drainage?
For instance, on just one sheet, so this
Oh.
is just a typical sheet.
Okay.
I can roll out some of the other sheets and we can look at them sheet by sheet if you'd like.
It still seems funny that we are approving it without knowing really whether the rest of the system is gonna be.
Right.
Made exactly.
That's
I
right.
I did understand.
You're still
though.
gonna flood, but you're gonna get rid of the water faster.
Well, this is
No, I think that's important that she said that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
That after the storm event. or
After the
whatever,
storm event, but if the outlet
It'll
on
still,
Swan Brook,
it'll still look like that with a car.
but if the outlet is clogged,
It'll be cleaner too.
it's not going to get out any
Understood.
faster. So they've got to do something with the outlet to Long Island Sound. Then, yes, then I agree, the water will
When
evacuate.
the tide goes out.
But the pipes are already, they just did it, right? And they're halfway clogged again.
Well, there's no topography there, so like,
because they didn't
no
take
matter
care
what,
of it.
unless they fill the whole thing, this scenario is always going to exist.
Right. So it's,
So you guys are engineers. You understand what our problem is? You know,
Yeah, they know exactly.
yeah, so you can put in all these beautiful pipes, but they said it'll lead to nowhere. The
Right.
Bridge to nowhere.
bridge to nowhere, this is it.
But if Miami Beach still wants to do that, is that the idea? They want to do it.
That's what they want to do.
They have to.
It's the hammer.
It's the sewer
Mhm.
that's the key here.
Yeah, I understand the sewer.
Yeah, the storm drainage,
Cleaner stuff, but
Yeah.
it's still water that's gonna be potentially lying around because it doesn't make it go.
It's absolutely gonna.
It'll be cleaner.
Yeah, so you might
Well-
want to change your picture and leave the car out that's sitting in the water because it's gonna be that.
It's still gonna be there.
It's still gonna be that way. In fact, it might be higher.
We'll use AI, put a guy in a kayak.
Yeah.
We don't need AI for that. You can just go down there after a
He's down
rainstorm.
there. I've already seen that. You don't need, yeah, I've got pictures of that. You don't need AI.
But at least it'll be clean.
It'll be cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner.
So I guess we're not giving you a hard time
No.
ourselves, but it is kind of.
They're valid,
Yeah.
they're valid comments.
Mhm.
Just to highlight the two stream crossings, so the pictures on the left here for Liberty and Clifton Street. The existing pipes are deteriorated metal pipes, on Liberty Street. And then on Clifton Street, they're actually concrete pipes. Since, especially with the deterioration of that metal pipe, made the replacement of it for this concrete culvert a main reason to do it. Just so that way that metal pipe, you wouldn't want that to fail if someone drives over it because it's rusting, the salt water, as we all know with metal, very corrosive. And similarly with the concrete pipes up there, they're actually two pipes. And so those two pipes that are installed, their area is actually restricted to two straws instead of just one big opening. So we're trying to just make it uniform. So it's gonna be that same culvert section for both crossings there.
And have you, made, because sedimentation is a huge problem, is there access for removal of sedimentation?
Yeah, there'll be a lot more access than is currently shown on that.
I mean,
picture
I
over
mean,
you
I mean, the
asked.
maintenance of these is gonna be huge, so you just have to make sure that they can get in, clean them out, and it should be, I mean, there should be a maintenance plan as part of the stormwater permit. It's that, you know, this is just not gonna work without the maintenance.
Yeah, we can definitely.
Yeah.
Take that comment back. If that's part of the permit or if that's just general comment, we can. definitely
Yeah, I mean,
discuss.
it should be how you maintain the stormwater structures and do the, you know, the operation and maintenance of these should be part of the stormwater plan.
So for the project impacts and best management practices, the work as stated is primarily within the existing road right of ways or previously disturbed areas. Sediment erosion control, we have 6 plan sheets that cover the entire Miami Beach Association area, which each plan sheet will highlight the different storm drainage, or excuse me, erosion and sediment control measures. For instance, there'll be stone check dams installed on the side of the road where slopes from 156 down to Long Island Sound are steeper. There's silt fence installed at the end of Fifth Avenue before it goes into the tidal wetland pond there to catch any runoff from the construction process. And there will be silt sacks within all the existing catch basins, which will be maintained by the contractor during construction and changed. And then just to highlight some of the other details, there'll also be a use of a frac tank during the dewatering of the construction.
What's that?
A frac tank is basically a large settling basin. So when they pump out the construction trench, usually have sediment that gets stirred up with the groundwater, and then they'll pump that into the frac tank, which will then allow that sediment to settle out. And there goes the easel. Just to highlight some of the other items a little bit more closely. So here would be your stone check dam, would be placed along the gutter of the roadways. And this would be mainly in the steep sloped streets to slow down the water as it's coming.
So those are permanent things that you're.
Well, they would be temporarily installed during construction. And then here would be your silt sack, which would be installed inside the catch basin. This would collect the runoff as it goes into the existing catch basins. These would filter out the sediment, and then these would be either pumped out or changed on a frequent basis, whether directed by the engineer or anyone from the town who comes and visits during construction. We can make sure that these stay cleaned. And then here would be like in another instance, if the frac tank, otherwise you could also use a dewatering bag, which the pump from your trench goes through and then into a giant bag, which would then have straw wattles around it. And then it would filter the water through the bag, and then it would go out through the straw wattle out into an area that the discharge of the water would be reasonable.
No, the place where it won't go.
Oh, it will go if it's low tide.
So that last entry, no increase in impervious areas. That means your project will not increase impervious areas, or the
Yes.
area where this is done, they should not add impervious area.
That would be our project. So the installation of the sewer and
Yeah, because it's also probably recommended for the area itself. They should not be adding impervious area, right?
are you talking about the housing, the homeowner
About
property?
Miami Beach itself.
I cannot speak to
Yeah,
that.
right.
This project is not extending into any wetlands or any new areas. It's all, yeah,
That's no increase in impervious.
yeah,
area.
and all of the impacts are within disturbed areas or within the right of way. The impacts that are highlighted up there, we put on, that's part of our structures dredge and fill permit, which is the title impacts for those crossings on Swan Brook. So that's Clifton and Liberty Street, those culvert crossings, but they're going to be within the same exact footprint that they're already in. They're just going to be like rehabilitated and upgraded within that footprint. So there's not going to be any direct impacts to, beyond that, to the wetlands or new disturbance.
So with the wetlands water courses, as well as, you're fixing some culverts that exist and whatever. But are you creating any more piping? Are you daylighting streams? Or is it you basically use, replacing pipes where there's pipes and leaving it open where it's open?
Correct.
So for instance, like here's a good example of the impact plan on Pond Road. And this pipe run here is existing. There's actually a photo on one of the earlier slides of the catch basin right here that was deteriorated. This whole run is proposed to be replaced in kind. So if a catch basin was there, catch basin would go back properly installed. And in a similar vein, here's like just a snippet of that same table, just showing very small highlights of the areas that there were highlighted impacts, whether it was within the coastal jurisdiction line, the high tide line, or tidal wetlands throughout this replacement area, or any of the improvements within the project limits.
And if you changed any elevations of any of the catch basins, either to be able to make sure that they are catching all the water they need to catch, and or so that you know when they flood during a tidal event, in terms of, okay, this is at such and such an elevation, and we can expect water in the street or wherever at such and such a tidal event. Do you know that?
None of the grading changed significantly. Some of the contours shifted a little to help channel the water, but nothing in terms of filling in the floodplain or filling in.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more looking at I mean, I have seen catch basins not set to grade, so I want to make sure. I mean, sometimes water can't get into the catch basin because they're not set to grade or they've shifted and whatever. So that's what I'm looking at, like what grade are they going to be set at? Do we know what grade they're going to be set at?
Will
And
it stay in Miami Beach with this grading, or is it gonna go to the town side?
well, not only that, it's a matter of it. What's the grading? Does the water flow to the catch basin to make, because it's so flat? I mean, it's really, really critical that you get the grading right for the catch basins. And then also for the analysis that Jacobson would do to say like, okay, 10-year rainfall event, this is going to allow water to get out. But if I've got, some type of another event with major tidal stuff going on, where am I going to have flooding? Because now I've got big pipes with a lot of water getting poured into this neighborhood.
And they're going.
And where's the catch basin? So we just need to, I think we just need to know all of those details, make sure we have all those details.
I will ship it out to Jacobson first thing in the morning, and we will get comments back from him, hopefully in time for next month's May 11th meeting. I'll make sure that the May 11th date is firm in his mind, because he's always sort of late getting back to us on this stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate larger pipes is gonna let it water when the tide finally goes out, let the water go out. But that's only if the water can get to the catch basin and they're set right. On flat, very flat terrain, it's where I've just seen so many catch basins not set right. And it's like, guess what? There's water on the street, but it's not gonna go uphill even 6 inches. It's gotta be set to grade. So you just need to make sure, be really specific about that.
Understood.
Okay, so just to go through some of the permits for this project. We have an old Lyme inland wetlands watercourse permit, which was received in 2021. It's up for renewal this June, and we're going to file an extension for that. We also have the special permit that was granted in February of 2022, and that encompasses all 3 of the associations, including Miami Beach. We received a section 404 self-verification in October of 2025. We have our GP, stormwater GP renewal. We was renewed on March 17th of this year. And then we have a structures dredge and fill, which I mentioned, which includes tidal wetlands and section 401 water quality certificate, is currently under review with DEEP. We submitted that last June. They've been out to the site and they're wrapping up their review. They just have a couple of comments that we're working through. So we're expecting that will be forthcoming. And we also have a flood management certification which was just extended at the end of last year to June 9th, 2027.
What would the last one entail? The thing that's extended to 2027?
A flood management certification. If it's a state project, it, it has a state trigger or funding. It has to go through an FMC review with DEEP. And they basically will look at the project for review, make sure that you're not, changing, any hydrologic conditions or storage or anything from the project.
It's a project basis, so it's not you won't be criticized if it's still gonna be flooding because of where the water has to go.
They looked at this project, and this is the FMC was for all three of the projects in totality. So it was all three associations.
The one where the water's going.
Right.
Yeah, for the three associations for these projects, yes. I don't know about the other project of concern, which is outside of the project area.
DEP is not holding it up because water has no place to go.
I don't care about it.
So they're looking to
about
make sure you're
I
not
can't-
filling in, they're making sure you're not exacerbating conditions.
Yeah.
Even if you can't
Yeah.
totally alleviate them.
What was that
Yeah.
again?
Essentially improving.
Then you get a date again.
So just to kind of go through the consistency with coastal policies, the project is, consistent with the Connecticut Coastal Management Act objectives. It maintains and improves existing infrastructure within the developed area. It's not expanding development or impervious coverage. It's preserving the coastal processes in Swanbrook. The improvements essentially will reduce that septic related nutrient loading, which we talked about, to the coastal waters, improve the water quality in Swanbrook and Long Island Sound, and also maintain or improve that hydraulic conveyance at the stream crossings that we talked about. And no adverse impacts to coastal resources, the adjacent beach system, or any of the water dependent uses are anticipated from this project.
When DEP gave you direction to that, they really wanted the water minimized because, getting rid, right now there's flooding and they've got on-site septic, which is the worst case scenario, right?
Mhm.
But now they're putting in sanitary sewer, but they've asked you to address the water on site. Did they say at what storm event they were looking for you to do that? I mean, were they looking at you to mitigate for the 10-year storm event? Is that the real, less frequent, or I should say more frequent storms? Do they have that?
So it was actually DEP did not direct for the storm drainage improvements. That was the association themselves.
I thought,
This is a desperation move.
yeah, no, that actually makes more sense. I thought you had said DEP wanted to get rid of the water because,
They wanted to get rid of the storm,
water.
or excuse me, the sanitary
Sanitary
sewer,
sewer.
which was polluting.
So the pollutant
Yeah,
load
no,
from
I
those,
understood
yeah,
that. Oh,
is what
okay.
was what Deep
I
was
was thinking-
concerned about
I was thinking
pollutants.
you were saying they also wanted to get rid of the surface water because of that. Okay.
So within the coastal site plan, permit itself, there was models that were put together that show the existing condition at those different storm.
Mhm.
So there's a 1 year that was done, a 2 year existing, a 5 year, and then 10 year.
Mhm.
And then there was,
Redder and redder everything.
and then,
That's what- Yeah. So
and then there were different alternatives that were evaluated based on that, on where we could move catch basins around, did increasing the pipe help? And the overall recommended alternative was actually a combination of alternative 1 and alternative 2, which combined systems of what was proposed in 2 with proposed in 1 to,
under which year scenario or
I can tell you in a couple seconds.
they're probably trying to cap the 2 and 5, maybe up to 10. Only because after that, you're getting into coastal flood storm.
Yeah,
I think you may want to take care of the short form flooding.
I'll find it right,
That's okay.
but I can get back to you.
No, yeah, it was my misunderstanding. I thought you were saying DEP also wanted to take care of the surface stuff, and I'm like, well, they do that when you're already taking care of the sanitary.
Yeah, apologize about that confusion.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah. So the next step is for Jacobson to,
Well, yeah, we haven't gotten deep comments back and
Yeah.
we're sending out for Jacobson reviews.
Engineer
Yeah.
review, yeah.
We're gonna need to wait until that occurs and have you back next month.
So do we need to motion that?
Yeah, why don't you move to continue it to May
Okay,
11th?
so we'll take a motion that we, continue, okay,
Continue to May 11th.
continue it to May 11th. Motion by Jane Marsh, second. Second by, you do some names now.
Denise.
Denise Savage out. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Abstain? Okay, approved 500 to next month. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So let's look at what we have left and let's look at the time we have left because
Is it 9 or 10 is our hard stop?
it's, our hard stop is from new discussion at 9:30. Because then we have to finish up with approval of minutes and whatever. So, for those of you in the audience here for informal discussions, it is 8:46. The policy of the Old Lyme Zoning Commission is that we will not continue any conversations or start any new additional items after 9:30 PM. Those will have to then go into the following month. The commission needs to finish up the agenda on its own. And then we have a hard stop, a dead hard stop at 10 PM. So the hard stop for this section, because we have 3 informal discussions. Eric, Rivercog representation update, is that?
Well, Martha asked that I add that as an agenda item for each meeting. If one of you guys is going to Rivercog, you should, whoever that is going to report back as to any updates they may have from whatever Rivercog
So
gave.
that would be Michael? Is he on that?
Michael, I think.
Michael?
Yep, and recently I've been covering it ad hoc, but I understand that I'm going to be appointed. Doesn't look like it's happened yet, but nonetheless, we've already covered a lot of what Rivercog is up to during the conversation with Francisco, but I can add to that if you need to. But it
All
won't
right,
be long.
so that won't be long, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Paul,
So,
I'm sorry, would you consider an extra 10-minute extension on the 9:30 to 9:40? They've all been
well,
patient.
let's see how far we get. Right now, I'm going to give you folks 15 minutes each to give us and have your informal discussion with us. So that'll get us hopefully within our time frame. So the first one that we have is an informal discussion regarding potential development at 230 Shore Road, Joe Wren again. Indigo Land Design. I took some of the words out for you there, Joe.
More questions. Do we get a bonus for only 14?
When I collect my first
You
check,
get an attaboy.
yes, you will.
I think we could easily do this within 15 minutes. Again, it's informal discussion, so we don't have to be so formal. But for the record, Joe Wren, professional engineer. With us is Hope Proctor. She's would be the project architect. And then momentarily we'll have the owners and the other folks involved just do a quick introduction of who they are. Just to introduce you to the project very quickly. The location is 230 Shore Road. There's a large building here currently in the front. The special education school that recently approved went in that building, just to familiarize yourself. To the back of this property, it's a fairly large property. To the back of this property is just, that's the parking lot for that building. And then there's open land. And the proposal here would be to construct a new building. The use of the building, which is why we're here in front of you discussing this informally this evening, is a recreation-based membership automotive club. So for folks that have classic automobiles, and we provided, I'm not sure, or if you have the handouts, probably pass those out now.
Yeah, so to avoid any confusion, we thought we'd do some images, you can paste those in, to help clarify what kind of club and what kind of atmosphere we're looking at. It's more of like a, we're talking a high-end club, white glove service, almost like a museum quality on the inside. Not like, there will be cars there, but they're for show. And to walk around when they're entertaining in the club.
So this facility, the use of this facility, we kind of mirror with like a yacht club or a tennis club or a golf club, something where it's membership based. And the purpose here, instead of being golf or yachts, boats, whatever it might be, are automotives, plastic collectible vehicles. There would be some, if you look through those photos and renderings, there would be some, it's really a social club, social type recreational atmosphere, very similar. There are references in the current regulations to this type of use in the C30 zone. And there are other existing uses in town in these zones and other zones that replicate this. Again, like the yacht club and like the golf club, Black Hawk Club, Old Lyme Country Club, and so forth, that are very, very similar to this, with the exception of the main thing is not golf, not boats, it's cars.
So, but how are you separating these uses? Because it's all on one property.
So this pink line, potentially, if that was what the owners would like to do, is subdivide the property. And the pink line would meet the subdivision regulations and the zoning regulations for two separate lots in the C30 zone.
So that parking that is now supposedly for the building that was constructed would have to be redone for the front.
It would either be reconfigured or there would be cross easements for them to share. Okay.
Well, how do we do that as far as approving it?
We've done that several times in several different types of projects where we provide the language, the cross easement language to you. You review that cross easement language, or your legal counsel reviews that cross easement language, and that's goes in with the special permit approval, which is enforceable. So cross easement would be for maintenance and for use of the parking facilities, getting utilities back. It would be pretty much over.
Going to be used at 2 different times or something?
The front building has multiple different uses and operates more on business hours, right? Like a 8 to 5, 8 to 6 type deal. This will be, I'm not sure what the hours would be. We haven't really gotten that far yet. Do you have an idea what the hours would be generally?
Similar generally. Except for entertaining events, whatever guidelines.
And weekends? More weekends. You know, that's when the folks that are working that own, that's when they would come and socialize and get together and have their recreation.
And so have you actually figured out what kind of parking each one of these uses need?
We haven't gotten that far yet. We wanted to just come discuss with you about this, the use and how it aligns with the C30 zone.
And the reason I flagged it and the reason they're here is the building is going to store cars.
Yeah, but I was just gonna ask that question.
Okay.
I sense that. Okay.
And you just went through a great deal of effort to strip the C30 zone of self-storage, and particularly your concern was cars. So I basically,
trucks.
well, vehicles being stored there and oils and other things that were tied to all of that In any event, I was saying, look, given the size of cars and whatever else, what's your accessory and what's your primary? I was concerned that the cars were taking up more space and therefore were the primary use, and that the club use was essentially subordinate to the cars. And that's why I said, well, I don't want this going forward without it coming to the commission and seeing what the commission's temperature was about cars being stored in a large barn just down from where you guys had a big fit over 250 Shore Road, and cars being stored in the units there. So that's why they're here. That's why I sent them here tonight to talk to you folks.
And so, thank you, Eric, because that was the question I had. Who owns the cars? Does the club own the cars? Is it like a museum type thing? Or do members get to like store their antique vehicles or their high-end
Members get to
vehicles,
keep their
whatever?
Cars, they're just like the members of the Lyme Yacht Club keep their boat.
Yeah, and that's, and what we're looking at is, it's like, it looks to me, it looks like trying to subvert that we didn't have storage facility.
Right.
You know, that for cars, and here we are creating a storage facility for a car.
It's not a storage.
I see it
It's
completely
a
different.
club, yeah.
It's not a storage facility.
Well,
It's not open to the public. You have to be a member, just like your regulations say, you have to be a member to belong to this club. There's no storage outside. It's all inside, and you can see how beautiful the inside is.
And
You're
it's,
not seeing these cars. The general public does not see these cars unless they're a member and they go inside the building.
But
What
that's
is
not
membership?
essentially different from what we did. Well, because it was all inside before.
Yeah.
There was no outside.
there was no outside.
this is more to
So the
show.
only
was no-
difference was
there was no membership.
There was it was lease
Mhm.
versus a membership. So I'm not sure I can see a big difference.
But then what's the difference to a yacht
What's
club?
membership?
We're not trying to compare this to a yacht club. There's
But I am. I am.
It is. a yacht
I'm making
club.
I'm making the inference.
It's
It's
not a
very
yacht club.
similar to.
We've never said in town that we don't want any boats parked in storage areas.
How about a golf club? A golf course is much larger than the building.
But we don't store cars there either.
So golf carts.
What is membership? That's good. Is it like a monthly fee to keep your car there? Is that
That was
membership?
probably a good time to introduce when it come up.
Yeah, absolutely. How long has this club been in existence?
So the club will be newly formed. Membership will be on a yearly, likely yearly basis and formatted very similarly to like a yacht club or a golf club. So, probably a buy-in in the beginning, yearly membership fee. Members will have the opportunity to have roles within the organization. Committees for things like social events and, on sort of, verticals within different interests. So it might be the classic car folks. It might be the modern car folks will, say, hey, this is my interest and I'd like to have, Tuesday, every Tuesday night in the third quarter is a special time that we, share our interests and, focus on a particular segment of collector cars.
Would my Toyota hybrid would not be allowed in the club then?
Good question.
It's a good
It's a good
question.
question. Yeah.
It would be a bit of a unicorn in the club.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
I don't know as,
I imagine it would.
yeah, I don't know as it would be disallowed.
Yeah.
I mean, it is very similar to a yacht club, could the small rowboat sit next to the 80-foot yacht club? So,
Just like that.
my name's Kelly Angelini. I've owned the 230 Shore Road for 26 years, I believe. I had Simpson Healthcare there.
Yeah.
And moved that business a couple of years ago. So as you guys know, there have been a variety of different groups that have been coming in, speaking with you. So we're delighted to bring in very wonderful new businesses and new groups into the town. Wellness, estheticians, a school for special folks. This is a very unique idea. We are also, we desire to put technology on the front end of this. AI is very crazy right now, but one of the things you would get with your Toyota is to understand exactly who else owns that type of car Is that you would have an AI footprint as part of your membership. And exactly how your car was built, where it was built. If you wanted to build a book on it, you can do that through the technology part of it. So we not only want to look at the preservation and the learning side of historic automobiles, but just how you can bring technology in. And it's
What's the membership target for the club?
I'm sorry?
What did you say, Mike?
What would the membership target be for the club, and would ownership of a classic vehicle be a requirement for membership?
A similar question. It wouldn't, we haven't defined right now, whether ownership of a classic vehicle would be a requirement. That is our membership target. It would be the folks that are in the yacht clubs. It will be that, because one of the other things that we're looking at is building the facility so it could conform to some of the higher level requirements that you need to ensure, like a $1 million Porsche to be in indoors in storage.
All right, just briefly talk
How
about,
many members did you have in mind?
Oh, it's very limited. We would see it to be somewhere between 50 and 100, depending upon how we build this out, but very private, very small.
How often do you expect the membership to be in the use it as a club?
Yeah. I think we would plan probably quarterly events, probably around some of the.
So they get to store their car for a year, and then you'd have quarterly events. So that means 4 times a year they'd have events because you're letting them store their car for a year.
That's one of the things. I think the other thing is they could come in for different types of education or just to use the club with their family on an open basis.
I know you had some depictions of the outdoor space that
Yeah.
some of these functions could happen
Yeah.
in. I was, be a member of the club. I could see myself going there on a more of a weekly basis, certainly during good weather. You think about other clubs, whether it's a yacht club or a country club.
Would you allow any car maintenance?
Not by members, no.
What are you talking about in the description on the last page? It talks about maintenance and detailing. So
Those would
you would,
be
as it offered as a service,
Offered as a service handled
Okay.
by the administration.
right?
A lot of it would be done offsite. So, mechanical repairs and that sort of thing.
Right.
We would work with.
But you
Uh,
act as like a facilitator of it. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So as a club member, that your car is being taken care of, and if there was a thing that came up the last time you used it, that the next time you come back, it's.
Because you're tapped into a bigger network. And so with the events, you said you'd use it on a weekly basis. So there would be some kind of catering service, bar service associated with it then as well? Or would this be completely BYO kind of a thing?
So I know we have thought about an area for.
Like a lounge area. So it wouldn't be like a catering kitchen per se, but it would be like at a club, if you go to yacht club and they have like bar service and maybe some small foods. Especially if you're
That would be
doing
prepared and served.
not really prepared there,
No.
but so they're not gonna have a kitchen in there, but it's just that, like if you want to entertain or if you want to come for the weekend and say I'm like go on Saturday, there might be somebody there to serve you a drink or something.
Or engaged caterer.
Or engaged, yeah. Catering would be more often.
Okay.
so everything's very clean too. There's not, you can see the renderings, how it looks. If there's one drop of anything, it's immediately cleaned up. There's nothing that accumulates on the ground or leaks outside or anything of that nature. It's all on a concrete slab, so nothing leaks into the floor.
See, the problem I'm having is the actual use of the building is still the use that we didn't want.
Right.
So even though it's called a club, and even though you say, but our thing is gonna be different and how we're gonna handle the club, to me, it doesn't seem like it's permitted in the zone.
It's not.
But a club is permitted by special permit in the zone.
But we're not gonna say that you get to do any kind of club that you want. It's still gotta be a club that fits within the other regulations that apply to the zone. And so I don't think you're, without a change in the regs, I don't think you can put this in.
It's interesting because the definition of the club or the uses don't prohibit automotive clubs.
Well, that's why I brought you here and you're getting the sense from the commission and we're at 15 minutes.
But it's not just an automotive club. As a club, you're doing storage, and don't compare it to marina. Marina is not, they may have a yacht club associated with the marina, but they operate a marina as a different entity. It's not, it's usually a yacht club and a marina. It's not the same thing.
Not necessarily, no. Yacht clubs are specific to specific sites.
Yeah.
Sometimes, like for instance, the Guilford Yacht Club.
Yeah.
It's a yacht club
Yeah.
that has dockage.
Yeah.
It's not a marina.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's a place that parks both. So that's, but my
Exactly.
point is that you're blending them, and they're not the same. And my personal opinion on this is that, like, I see this as completely different than a storage facility or a self-storage facility personally. Right now you have a parking lot out there that could park all of those cars all day long. And you're staring at the car. Now they're trying to build a structure that houses vehicles as part of a club experience. I see it completely different than the other members up here personally. I do feel like it is a club. If it has the criteria that you're talking about, it's not a storage facility. They're not storing.
Yeah, they are.
They're parking vehicles, but there's nothing. Why do we care if people are parking vehicles inside of the building?
The difference between with a yacht club and this is with water access, that's the whole point. It's like this very limited water access. So it's a different type of a thing. Here, you don't need, there's nothing they're accessing.
Yeah, actually, I disagree. I mean,
They are.
car enthusiasts, you're talking about if you're only having 1,500 members, I have a concept of who you're targeting,
Yes,
right?
exactly.
And so with all due respect, I love your Toyota hybrid. Mary Jo, yeah, but that's not what they're going for. And the storage requirements for the types of vehicles that it sounds like you're targeting are very specialized, not just from an insurance perspective, but from a long-term care and maintenance. These aren't just, my dad's 1990 Mustang that he loves more than anything.
But see, you're talking about the storage piece. I was talking about from the yacht piece.
No, thank you.
They're not just storing it there to store it. They're storing it because they want access to water.
Correct.
Which is different here. Why did it?
Let me finish then.
Stored on land.
If I could just finish. So if we're making the inference to a special use case of a marina is a special use to water, I'm suggesting that this is a special situation because you have a special class of vehicles that require. You can't just put necessarily in your garage. You can't just park in your driveway and put a cover over it for the types of vehicles that they are potentially, we haven't seen the details, but potentially targeting. So I think it's a really interesting novel concept. And I guess I would also just be curious, where else do these exist? Like is this a new trend? I mean, because car enthusiasts are pretty serious. So I would imagine this must exist somewhere else. And I'd be curious for my own research going into our next meeting, you could give me the names of some other ones that I could just have a look at to see how they operate for my own understanding.
Understanding our market, there are a few of these emerging. There's one down in Westport right now.
Mhm.
And it's a club, and it has a pretty small, but you'd call it kind of a showroom.
Mhm.
Members are not allowed to drive their vehicles in and out. It's access only. Your vehicles are typically delivered to you.
Mm.
And
Was there one in Essex? When the old
there
used to be one in Essex in the Sullivan landscape. What's that? That was a private one.
Yeah,
But this has a similar vibe. to it.
Yeah.
Very much. There was a beautiful discussion on a 9,200 square foot home that wants to be built. That individual may very well have car collection.
Yeah.
And typically they're building their own, places, or there's 3 here and 4 there and 5 there. And so, and they go to very elite places. So it's emerging. You see this more, and more urban markets like.
Well, why-
But we're out of
I
time
guess
here.
Yeah,
why-
so,
why-
so we're on a time crunch here.
Okay.
This is kind of an informal discussion,
Yeah.
okay? In my estimation, this is just a different type of a storage facility, which is against our regulation. So since we're having an informal discussion, should this come before the commission? I can't see a way forward, at least in my book. I don't know how the other commission members feel.
At this point, without really, I would say you've given us minimal details. You haven't even figured out your business plan from what I.
No, we do have the business plan.
Well, you didn't express it very well then. When I asked about membership, when I asked what kind of cars I would say those are important details. I would really need to see a lot more details. And I would like to know why you would think this would fly in Old Lyme. Do you have, is there a secret market of this kind of thing that I'm unaware of?
Yeah.
Yes, we have multiple billionaires in this town.
Yes.
I have an old car that's sitting outside getting ruined right now.
We do. Yeah. The type of people that would have these are here in Madison and
I wish I would.
Essex.
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. And, you're right. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been creating businesses in this town for 25
That's
years.
cool.
And this is a pretty novel idea.
Yeah.
Does it have to be in Old Lyme? No. Would it service the surrounding community? We anticipate it to be filled up with a waiting list within a month.
Yeah.
With all due respect,
It's
it's,
a very particular part of the community. For example, you've got this club space,
It does.
you would not be allowing the community as a whole to
But it's-
rent,
No,
to rent it.
but yacht clubs don't either.
I'm not thinking this as a yacht
Like
club.
beach
I know,
club does it.
I know that's
I think
the
we should
analogy, but I
consider
don't
this
think.
from our
of it.
zoning
Yeah.
regulation,
Yeah.
not a yacht club.
We
Yeah,
under-
yeah, yeah,
we-
yeah.
Okay.
We understand. I
Yeah.
guess what I'm
But
hearing.
would you see, I guess, other details I'd like to see is, obviously the hour is going to be hugely important. Did you see these folks being, test driving their vehicles
No, no.
out here all
No,
day
no.
around the neighborhoods?
No,
I don't know.
never.
That would be something
Yeah.
I know the neighborhood would be
Yeah.
very interested in.
Yeah.
So,
Well, thank you for hearing us tonight. We are taking away that it's somewhere between a soft and a hard no, because it's viewed as a storage facility, which it is not. No one could store any of these vehicles in any kind of storage facility. They would not be insurable. And the owners would never, ever do that. So, but I do appreciate your time and your candidness. And you guys do a great job in the town. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
how much? Thanks.
thank you.
Do you want these photos back?
I'm going to collect the photos then because I don't want them floating around.
More folks.
Right, that's it. We can go through these short on time. I need to connect to the teams.
I was gonna say, Eric, Miles should be in the waiting.
I was, and then it got timed out, so I have to get back.
When he gets in, I'll let
Sorry.
you.
Mouse in my pocket.
Right.
It's your big change.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not. Okay, we're running out of time, so we got one more after you, if we can. If we can, next month.
So I'm Amy Suchin here.
I mean, you might be.
I had a Chevy that was try to start that way. You.
Gosh, where's the mute button?
It's just scary.
There you go. No, that's my.
Hopefully.
That should work.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Amy Suchins, Miles Brown here from Amenta Emma Architect.
We're here representing Heritage Housing and Simon Conover Company. Newt Brainerd is from Simon Conover. David McCarthy is from Heritage Housing. This is with respect to 220 Shore Road, so right next door to the application you just heard. Miles is going to walk you through. This is a very high level concept for a residential development on the property. And Miles will walk you through, and then I can talk to you about the sort of zoning issues associated with it.
Great, thank you very much. And you should be sharing a screen momentarily.
Skip. Yeah. Thank you.
I agree.
That now working.
For 15 minutes. This is not fair.
There we go. Yeah, thank you very much. Again, Miles Brown with Amenta M Architects. Try to go through this quickly. The proposed site is at 220 Shore Road at kind of the southeast end of Old Lyme, near the beach community, close to the Hawks Nest beach community. There in the upper left, right across the street on Shore Road. And we drew some inspiration from, some old postcards of Old Lyme beach community. So the architecture really wants to be connected to that type of architecture, the New England vernacular and the seacoast. The scale of the development will be very much in keeping with the neighborhoods that are across the street. You can see at the upper right is sort of a diagram of the streetscape of the Hawks Neck beach area across the street. And similar scale, two-story homes, very walkable streets, very linear connection towards the beach. This is again bird's eye views of the neighborhood across.
All built before zoning.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
The next slide is on the upper left is the site. The area in green is really the developable area. We're bound by the railroad on the north side, Shore Road on the south, and two wetland boundaries on the east and the west. And so the developable areas within the setbacks or beyond the setbacks of those wetland areas. As you can see, it's an existing driving range, fairly nondescript flat site.
Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Is this the Murata property?
No,
This is Cherry Stone's driving range.
Driving range, okay. I'm sorry.
Driving range. Yep.
Okay.
So yeah, there she is. So, our inspiration for the development of the neighborhood, we're kind of drawing it from a typology called the pocket neighborhood. Maybe some of you are familiar with that concept, sort of very similar to New England streetscapes, tree-lined streets with homes developed around little pockets of green, similar to town greens. The vehicle becomes kind of secondary, tucked around behind and hidden from view. Again, very, very walkable type community. So again, the scale of sort of these images, two-story homes maximum, lots of front porches, lots of focus on connection and building community, walkable, bikeable. Those are the kinds of things that we want to draw from in this.
Not shared walls.
There is some shared walls between. So I'll show you this. Like the image on the lower left has multiple units together, but they sort of look like individual buildings, and there might be some stepping. So actually, the picture in the upper center, top center view, those actually have shared walls connecting them, but sort of allows us to create more green space really by keeping the building footprint.
Eric, are shared walls presently allowed?
None of this is presently allowed in the zone. That's why they're here.
Yeah, so this is really, we're here to talk to you about the concept and where we're going with it.
No, I mean, clearly work would need to be done between what is allowed there now and what they're proposing, and that's why they're here to talk to you.
Sounds like overlay.
So I'm going quickly, but yeah, feel free as you're.
Commercial district.
So the next couple of pages are some renderings, really early level concept renderings, sort of the look and feel, the character of the neighborhood that we're trying to create. Again, here's looking kind of bird's eye view, looking over series of greens that are interconnected, crossing the street. You can see the streetscape is very walkable with parallel parking, sidewalks, and the parallel parking is really for visitors. The actual parking for the community is tucked in behind the units, and we'll show that in a moment in the site plan. So kind of a more eye level view of sort of the character of the neighborhood. Again, 2-story homes, front porches, walkable sidewalks, tree lined streets, kind of the big idea. And here's lastly is a site plan. On the left side is Shore Road, the right side is a railroad. And starting at the beginning of the site as you enter, kind of cursor's working. Main entry drive, here's Cherry Stones right here. Main entry drive would be sort of like a demarcated, main entrance with a small commercial building, roughly 2,600 square feet, sort of activate the street edge with a little bit of parking out front. And then beyond that starts the neighborhood, which is, again, this very intentionally designed streetscape with sidewalks on both sides, parallel parking, tree lined. And then the perpendicular to the home, sorry, my mouse is great, but perpendicular to the main street are these green spaces which connect the homes, sort of the pockets, the town greens, and then also those skinny streets that you see perpendicular are the service roads for the parking. So the garages that you can't see from the street are tucked in at the ground floor behind the units. They're actually there's each building has upper level units facing 2 directions, and then a lower level unit that faces the town green. As you continue down the development, kind of in the knuckle there, sort of you see a community building area surrounded by a park-like setting with swimming pool and some outdoor amenities, playscapes, maybe a dog park. And then sort of another continued neighborhood as you get towards the back. We're constrained on the sides by the wetland areas as well. There's a loop, a walking loop around the perimeter of the development that sort of connects all of these various neighborhoods together. So they sort of the exercise trail, everything designed will be, very carefully looked at from a sustainability standpoint. Native planting, low cutoff fixtures, very energy efficient. So septic is a very good point. There is no sewer there today. This would be a new septic development, so we're going to have to do clusters septic development. Again, very early. We haven't looked at that.
Do you know that there's been?
Yes, there's been testing, and our understanding is the site has adequate soils and appropriate, to handle this kind of capacity.
The town has a lot of that information.
Yeah, but that preliminary work has been done.
Basis, not on an individual site.
Correct. It would be a community system permitted through DEEP, but that initial work to see if soils were suitable and that kind of thing to support this.
Tap into the water supply that goes down to white sand. Where are you getting water?
Yes, I believe we have public. We would connect through public water, is my understanding.
There's no public
There's
water.
no public water.
Yeah,
Oh,
Connecticut water.
Connecticut water is the
Connecticut.
Right.
Yeah,
Connecticut water.
In the road. Yeah.
Correct.
Do they have capacity to serve you? Because we've had some challenges down there. They ran out of water this summer and the summer before.
My understanding is that those preliminary conversations have happened, but obviously if we were to move forward, we'd be having those conversations. I think what we were trying to understand, the clients frankly want to do this in a cooperative fashion. And that's why we came in with this. This is a high level plan. Obviously, we have a preliminary development summary and did some preliminary field work, but I think a lot of the details, and I can go into some of the zoning thoughts that we discussed with Eric. But we would obviously have more work to do before coming back to you with a final application.
Even though you're trying to mimic what's on the other side of the street, this looks very dense for Old Lyme.
Understanding that it is a market that you don't have in town right now, and that is exactly what we're looking at. Overall, what the goal is to mirror some of the R10 standards, which is what is across the street.
But we don't have R10 anymore. We're not creating new R10. These are pre-existing R10. R30 was the sort of basic idea of the town once zoning got underway.
understand. And I think what we're trying to say is we're interested in providing, we think there's a need and we're interested in providing a product that does not exist in town. We think we've heard from, and David or Newt can talk to you a little bit more. But that's ultimately, the idea is to provide something that does not exist in town, consistent.
Skyscrapers don't exist. in-
Would any of these be categorized as
I was
affordable
just gonna
housing?
ask, you took the question.
So what the proposal would be is that 15% would be at area, 80% area median income, and 15% would be at 100% area median income. It's not an 830G development, but we would have, and David is frankly a industry expert in this area. So if you have questions about that, but that would be the intent, is that we'd have 15% at sort of
Right.
a fairly high end, but below market rate.
So yes, is the short answer.
Yes, it's just, I just want to be clear, it's not affordable under the statute sort of thing. It's
What's the 100%? I don't think I've ever heard that term.
100% of area median income. So it's, practically speaking, it's likely below market rate, but not as affordable as would be compliant with the state statute.
Average.
The only difference would be it's deed restricted that way, and therefore.
And these are going to be owned by Simon, like as an entirety, not individual units, condominiums.
Correct.
or
The
anything
idea
like
that
right?
this,
So
this would be a
apartment.
rental community.
Rental community?
Yeah, when they talked about the market, what they're really trying to attract is folks that, maybe are downsizing or could be selling their homes, don't want to deal with the maintenance of the home anymore, still want that feeling of a single family community, really walkable streets, that neighborhood still feels like quaint New England villages. But again, sort of has
Or a rental option, because there aren't a lot of those
Exactly.
either.
Yeah. And as you can see, what we have in the preliminary development mix is there's a fair number of 2 bedrooms in this,
Yeah.
concept, which is something that we see certainly in the work I do and Conover does overall. We see a lot of studio and 1s here. We think there's, an opportunity for 2s where people might be, want that extra bedroom, not necessarily because they're going to use it as a bedroom, but they may want to use it as an extra space. But there may also be, people who are interested in the 2-bedroom option. So, and I think the other thing just to note that Miles talked about in the plan, but I think is certainly something atypical to the multifamily you might otherwise see, is you'll notice that a lot of that parking is in garages. So, to the conversation you just had, the intent is not to have, a giant service parking lot or parking garage or something like that. It's to have these units have the garage spaces, which feels consistent with, again, the neighborhood across the street, which feels, is predominantly single family home. These units are designed to, as Miles explained, mirror some of that feel. And, it's not a 4-story stick-built apartment complex.
So it's not age restricted housing then either. Okay.
What is, and you may have mentioned this, I'm sorry if I missed it, commercial lot? What is that?
So the space right at the beginning, at the front of the property, the intention would be that building at the front be some sort of commercial option.
Like 7 units or like what? I don't know. What's the 7?
Oh, I'm sorry. Restaurant, retail, something like
that's the
that.
park.
So
Those
is
are
that-
the parking.
Oh, these are parking rates. Okay.
Yeah, so that.
Parking. Yeah, I'm sorry. I see it there. I'm sorry.
Commercial space is more, would that be more of a community support retail?
Like a community office complex.
Or, I mean, is
They
it
just
like
mean retail. They just mean a commercial.
a commercial retail, but not dedicated to that?
Correct. Not dedicated to the
Right.
development. There'd be a separate.
Nothing like a pharmacy, a small grocery store?
I think we'd be interested. I mean, might be a little small for a grocery because it's only.
Or a pickup.
But yeah,
place.
Yeah.
bakery, small restaurant. Yeah, absolutely. I think something that, but we think there's an opportunity there, kind of consistent with the location on the street, provides another option here. So, that's it. Just from an overall perspective, one of the things that we also looked at was, and I know that we have the time constraints, but we started a very high-level draft of a zoning regulation. As Eric noted, this is not something that's currently permitted in your zoning regulations, so we knew that going in. We've talked to him about that. The idea would be that it's drafted sort of similar to the format of your PRCD regulation, where there is, you know, site-specific location, definitions, and then, you know, you set out permitted uses, bulk criteria, things like that, would be the idea. We would incorporate the affordability provision into that requirement. Happy if there were things that you saw that you thought would be important in design considerations, things like that, we could incorporate those into a draft regulation. And then the same thing, the existing PRCD talks about access, parking, utilities, some of those things we can, open space. I was just gonna say, open space, lighting, signage for anything on the commercial that we would sort of mirror what's allowed in your regs. So I think the idea would be that we would try to mirror that to the extent possible. I think having listened to the conversation about what you're going to be doing over the next couple of months, I think our idea, and I've had this come up in other towns, happy to work with Francisco or anyone else on your team if there was, if they wanted input on our, you know, whatever we might be drafting as we move forward in the process. Certainly something, you know, if the formatting is going to change, something as innocuous as that, or if there were other comments, I think that's what we're, you know, we're trying to look at this from the perspective of coming in cooperatively early on in the process to kind of get your input and thoughts as to things that would be important if you were, you know, interested in this concept and thought it made sense for us to move forward, and, you know, incorporating whatever those issues or thoughts might be.
Mr. Poliano.
Thank you, Paul. I think if we look at this through the lens of PA 25-1 and the kind of intense pressure that's going to be put on all of the towns in Connecticut to grow housing, this fits a niche that is worth talking about. I think the infrastructure problems or the infrastructure needs could be daunting, but it's directionally correct with respect to what PA 25-1 is going to be looking for.
And I think that from your estimation, the Gateway might be interested in something like this.
I think so too,
Gateway
yeah.
Committee?
Yeah,
Shoreline.
The Shoreline Gateway.
Yep.
Shoreline Gateway, yeah.
Okay.
Especially if that front building was a bakery.
What's that?
You
Actually, it was a
put a
bakery.
bakery in that front building and then you own them.
There was a lot of joking around about making sure there was a bakery here.
Yeah, because it's like a known thing.
Yeah.
It's
We
an
can make it a
issue.
little bit bigger. We can make it a little.
Yeah. it's-
So
We're getting punchy.
Yes, we do.
I don't
Please.
want this in town.
Okay, you don't want this.
Because the whole thing, it's even the layout and everything is exactly what, at least in my opinion, we're working away from. It is historically what is part of beach areas. Those were beach cottages built on little lots. People only came for, you know, they were rental, but by the week, by the month. And slowly the area is converting to being more year round, but those are much bigger single family homes. So this is sort of like going backwards for me, looking at it. Even if you're saying it's a market that's not served or whatever, I've never felt that Old Lyme has to serve every market. Because Old Lyme has got its own sort of way of being. So I'm not really very happy about it, to look at it and to see it all laid out in the grid like that. That the open spaces, if it is anywhere, is going to be elsewhere on the site, not something that is incorporated into the design.
Well, the green space is really incorporated into the design between the houses. I mean, this is a very green development compared to what.
Can I actually ask, so it's 9:35 and this is a preliminary discussion. You bring up a lot of good points, Shane. I appreciate it. And I think it's important for you guys to hear that there's a lot of different views. I want to be respectful of the fact that we have a community member from a nonprofit here from an existing business on Lime Street. And I think it would be she just sat through 3 hours and we listened, with all due respect to major developers. She has a menu change request.
Right.
Can we give her
I
5
don't want
minutes?
these folks to.
I don't
spend
either.
A lot of money on something that they haven't really heard our opinion on, because.
No, that's why I said, I just was asking, is
Sure.
there anything else we need to, yeah, if we're gonna have them back anyways.
Let's continue this.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's,
We're gonna be looking at housing, so I think.
Yeah, I think there's enough
I
here
think
that
there's
we
a
want to talk
discussion
about.
that can happen.
Yeah, okay. Are you guys under contract on that land?
I don't know if they have to tell you
You don't
that.
have
That's
to.
okay, it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, if you felt to dispose it.
There's
Well,
definitely.
you had to have an option on it because you already spent a lot of money there, so. No.
Thank you very much.
So
I'm sure that family
you
would
would like
appreciate
us
it.
to come back next month?
we could try, sure, get on.
I don't think
I know you have a long agenda.
Honestly, I don't think
There's a lot going
I
on,
was just
so.
happy to talk to Eric, if you have these other thoughts, but we can coordinate
Yeah.
with him. Given that we're not under any kind of statutory timeframe, we can coordinate with
Okay.
him about.
That would be great.
That'd be great.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Please, finally.
Should I keep it?
I prefer if you didn't,
Go ahead.
because it's not an application,
Last
it's not a
but not
record.
least.
Yeah.
They say the ball game batting cleanup, number 9.
I know. Well, hopefully you're all tired and. I did this 14 years ago before the zoning commission, but I updated it. And we have a special usage permit we're a nonprofit Music Now Foundation dedicated to youth music enrichment. We've morphed sort of into adults coming into the cafe. The cafe is there to support the music. And we always had a special permit. It's a level 2 cafe. News of our death is slightly over exaggerated. We're still there. We've been there 14 years. We've just signed another 2-year lease. And what we're looking to do, just so we quell any rumors, we're staying there and nothing has changed. We're just getting a gal in to help us move and work with the cafe. Who knows what she's doing? She's got a little cafe over in Killingworth. She used to be the sous chef at the old Lyme Inn. She's young, she's vibrant, and she's just going to help us. We're all volunteers. And it just was by the stroke of luck, I ran into her and she wants to do this. And so we've worked out this arrangement where she is going to bring everything from her cafe every day. And I don't want to say cater because she will be toasting things there. A very simple menu, but something that's a coffee shop. Somebody, you can have coffee, you can have a smoothie, you can come in and you can get, she's going to do breakfast sandwiches, but she's bringing it in. She'll be there early every day. I think we've decided Tuesday through Saturday. And she'll be there 8 to 3. And then we'll be there. We do our youth kids come over after school. We do programs, but it's really comfort. It's a community, very intrusive thing. It's pretty much street walking. People coming in from LYSB, coming in from, just Lime Street. We very rarely get traffic during the day. Historically, we've not been a go-to place. We've been very quiet. Most people don't even know what we do. But it's really but Dan and I, Dan's I sort of work on all the grants, the grants, and work sort of behind the scenes. Dan's sort of the face of it, who's professional.
I think you're.
Well, I don't know. I try. I don't know. But the problem is, after the pandemic, we had to stop things. And we were 2 years. We were doing things remote with the music. We just couldn't sustain it. So we just kind of stopped. I went to work for the magazines. I now publish Niantic Neighbors, Mystic, and Lyme Old Lyme Neighbors magazine. So we're really community based. And really what we want is to provide a small, little, non-obtrusive gathering spot that people can really come over and communicate and talk, have a cup of coffee. I did put together this, I kind of updated it from years ago.
Can I just ask her, how would we be reviewing this? What is she here to?
Okay, because 2 reasons. One, these are hours 8 to 3 that previously were not included in what you approved. And 2, this was pitched to the zoning commission originally as music with some food. This piece that they're coming in with is food 8 to 3 and maybe music or maybe not music. It's also been originally as a nonprofit. The woman who's coming in from Essex it is not nonprofit. She runs it as a business. So we're changing, I think, the character of what this is going to be from those 8 to 3 hours on a street where Historic District Commission has been trying to clamp down on new commercial uses along the street. It would operate at the same time that buses are going in and out for the schools. There's no real parking there. It changes, in my opinion, it changed the nature of what the original special permit was talking.
But can I?
Yes, it's residentially zoned. It is zone R20. And therefore, again, it's a new commercial characteristic in an R20 zone. That's why I said we're here to talk to you about this.
Well,
Okay?
can I just make one comment? When we first originally did this, I had to go before the zoning. They knew, I showed them the menu. They knew that. They also knew I had to go before the commission, the historical commission, and get our cafe sign approved. We went through Dave Roberge, had everything approved. Everybody was very on board with it. And I'm not so sure administratively why it's not in the record.
It's very clear what got approved. Whatever you applied for, it's very clear what you got approved, which was for, again,
I was the one doing it before. I was,
We lost the old Lyme ice cream shop, which did service food, right? So if we're able to.
I'm not saying that it's a bad idea, Michael. I'm just saying it may not meet the regulations or the previous approval, and that's why they're here. If you want to go and figure out a way to get it approved, that's your role as a zoning commission. But it didn't seem to meet the residential zone, and it didn't seem to meet the prior approval. And that's from your CEO standpoint, why I kicked it back to you.
Well, the menu's attached. She has put together a very simple menu. There's nothing major about it. Nothing will be cooked there. And
I think it's not really the menu. It's more the use and the expansion of the hour.
we've always been open 8 to 3. Always for 14 years. The problem is I've had to work. So I would be open, I'd be closed, I'd be open, I'd close. So nobody ever really, I mean, we had published
But Eric
hours.
has your previous approval, right?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I didn't physically bring it down with me tonight because it's an informal, but
So maybe what we gotta do is talk to Eric and see what the terms of the previous approval are,
What we
because
cannot do.
there's some things that we can just do and other things we can't just do. That's why we have
and
regular.
again, the pitch originally, and again, as you heard her, she's non-profit,
Yeah.
and the music was sort of the core role here. That didn't sound to me like what we were getting in this new pitch. So if this is okay with you folks, it's okay with you folks, and I will let it go. But it just seemed different enough that I wasn't going to just say I was good with it.
Respectfully, I agree.
So-
I'm glad that we're here.
I mean, the way I see it is if there's an opportunity to help support the nonprofit, because without, if
I mean, it is a major support.
that's what I'm getting at. Now, does the Lyme Art Academy have a little restaurant thing in there too?
They came in for Flow Grizz. There's a special, they came in for.
How about the?
Not the academy.
The academy, not Flow Grizz.
Not
the
Flow
academy.
The academy doesn't have a restaurant.
I don't know, so I'm asking if
They
a
have a cafeteria that goes with their.
No, I'm just asking.
I've been to the cafeteria there. It's clearly a cafeteria. It's not for public. Public.
The Cafe Flow is in the same zone.
Cafe Flow is in the same zone, but they got their restaurant approved as a special permit through the restaurant, through the museum use as an accessory use for the museum.
We can't do it this week. Can we do it this way here?
No.
Well, I guess
That's where you.
that's up to you. If you think that this is an accessory use to this type of nonprofit, then I will respect that decision. But but even with that, Flow Grizz came in for a special permit amendment to allow that as an accessory use, right?
An amendment.
They came in with a special actual application that was approved by the zoning commission to amend their permit to put that restaurant in there as an accessory use. Okay? If you want to do that here, God bless you, go ahead and do it. But I'm just saying, that required an actual special permit application with a public hearing, and there's a permit on file that did that. We don't have that here. And again, the record here, the record I found here was all music based, and you get some food when you show up for the music. That didn't sound like what this was.
Wait, but if you've always been open 8 to 3 and you've always had coffee and pastries 8 to 3, and sometimes when I've been there 8 to 3, there's been an official music event, and sometimes it's been impromptu because you have instruments.
Yeah, the kids
there.
play the piano.
And sometimes there's nothing, but you're still, so
It is our mission.
it has been continuing because the point is to bring people, get people into this space and then to come back, have a reason to come back.
Exactly.
Again, I am not conceptually opposed to the concept. If you think it's covered by the existing permit, great. I will sign off on it and I'm doing this.
No, I know. That's why I'm just trying to understand. That's why I was asking Gail how this changes from what she's doing today.
I don't see much of a change besides.
That's what I'm not understanding.
Eric, I haven't taken your comments as being against this, just so you know. I think you're stating the.
No, you gotta do your job. That's your job. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, no, I
think,
but I wanted
it's
to
really
ask.
important that this entire board gets on one page, because we don't want to ever do anything beyond. We've had 2 people in there to help me, and they were doing things that, smoking on premises, and they were licensed caterers. They own, I won't even say what they own, but they did have, and they had to move on. But we said, no, it's not what we agreed to. They were cooking in the back. They were making eggs, for God's sakes. And I'm like serving them, and, they're no longer there. But we have an agreement with this gal. She's under our LLC. No, we're incorporated. We provide all the insurance for her. We do everything. She has to have a license through LLHD. And they have approved us as a level 2, meaning, and understanding what you're saying, Eric, meaning that we don't cook there. We can toast, we can warm up soups. She's going to do a couple soups, a couple sandwiches, coffee, and she's going to have a kids menu for after school. So, and we need this. I mean, I've lived here 27 years, been very involved in most committees, and not to do with the town, but the school committees. And my goodness, we need this here for the kids. Your kids are going through, they'll be coming over.
Eric, but you had said,
but I understand.
I just wanted to pick up on a point Eric had mentioned to us, that this woman that's going to be doing the catering or the serving, you had said something about she's not profit. She's
Okay.
And so
She runs her own restaurant elsewhere.
Yeah.
And that restaurant elsewhere is a for-profit restaurant, and it does not have, as far as I can tell, any music or whatever associated with it.
Right, but
So-
she's working for Nightingales.
Yeah.
She would be.
She's under our umbrella.
Well, I haven't seen the lease or business arrangement or any of that. All I saw was the same brochure that's been sort of passed around, which says, this restaurant is coming to my space.
Right. But
And so I just, if the representation is that it's through my nonprofit, and this is still Nightingale's, and it's always going to be Nightingale's with someone else helping me serve, that's one thing. But if it's, I'm subletting out to this restaurant for 8 to 3, and then I'll okay.
That's what I wasn't clear. Okay, so that's something.
Absolutely not. And I think our biggest thing is, how do we brand it so that she does get maybe additional catering jobs, but that it's menu provided by Laurel Kitchen. She's Laurel Cafe. We came up with the Laurel Kitchen so it could be under our umbrella, because she is providing the food. So I don't want to disregard her.
Yeah.
The example is that the Lyme at the Flow Grid.
It's like the Flow-
it's coastal catering
Right.
under
They
the.
have a special.
No, I'm saying the
For the
business
branding
structure.
perspective.
It's like, so when you're there, coastal catering is the business
No, we
that
have-
is Flow Grizz. I
Again,
understand it's a separate thing. No, I was just talking about the structure she's referring to.
Yeah, if we don't have a special permit.
I understand. I understand.
And if anything
I'm not
ever,
comparing parts, I'm just saying.
if I find, and Jen and I have come to a wonderful agreement that she is totally on board, that she knows, and she's a professional. She's not going to go beyond these rules, because I told her it just is not going to work. Because Dan and I are very committed to the town. We're very involved in the town.
So what this is really, the reluctance on my face has nothing to do with you. It's that.
Well,
when
somebody
we-
complained, I think.
No, it's because we have only our records. We have only what we
I
approve.
know that.
And we can't, the fact that you're nice, that you do what you say you're gonna do and all that is somewhat irrelevant to us.
I
It's gonna
understand
be
that.
years and years and years from now, somebody's gonna come in, not even necessarily you, and say, you let her do it down the road. We want to do it up here. So we have to have an orderly process
Right.
of approving these things,
No, I
getting
agree.
new statements of use. If it requires a special permit, so that you can then be like Flow Grizz, that
Right.
it has to be. Eric is telling you that the way it was pitched to him and what we get is that's called thing called a statement of use. And you get to describe what it is that you want to do. And then it goes to Eric. If Eric sees that statement of use and it doesn't fit in the regulations, or it needs to be a special permit or all that, that's
Right.
all he can do. He's not.
No,
zoning
I
commission
I
himself.
totally, Eric, trust me,
So it's-
I understand your job.
Once we say yes to something and we
Yeah.
approve it, then we have to have a record of what it was that we approved. If there were hours of operation, if there was, it was gonna be nonprofit, all that now becomes part of the approval.
Yeah.
Anytime you change it, we
No,
have to
I
do it
understand that.
by another same method. Now, whether that means you can yourself do it, or you didn't want to go through that much effort or have to go to the expense and all that. And that's the only thing I have to say to you, because I don't think that what you're actually proposing probably would be that difficult at the site, but there is no record whatsoever.
Yeah, I
for
know,
it.
I would wonder, yeah.
So if you want to do it, you'd have to give him what the basic materials so he can either make it fit the regulations
Well,
or.
okay, that's part of why we're here.
Yeah.
If you feel that this is an appropriate additional accessory use for what is going on there now, I will have her come in with a,
He worded it that way.
well, but I'm saying,
Yeah.
I agree, but
Statement of use, yeah.
that's part of what we're trying to do is figure out how I can fit it into my regs. If you're telling me that this is close enough to Flow Grizz, that you're comfortable with that arrangement of how Flow Grizz did it to fit into that, then that's where I'll send her. Again, there are parking and other sort of things that we'll need to look at, but I need to sort of figure out how to slot this into my regs in a residential zone on a street where the HDC doesn't want new commercial uses. Okay,
One thing back 14 years ago, they did tell me that once we leave, it reverts back to something, whatever it was, like a cheese shop, I think.
yeah.
And they did tell me that.
Yeah,
did tell- I don't-
that's not the way special permits usually work.
It should be a bakery.
They, or a bakery or baby shop, it's been a bookshop, we've been everything, but
Okay,
they did tell me that.
if you
So I
want,
don't know, maybe that's a clause. you
I mean,
put in.
I will show you the previous documents we have.
Yeah, I'd love to see those.
On your site there. But again, the materials largely focused on the music, not on the food. And it was pretty much pitched as you might be able to buy some stuff associated with being a musician. You might get some sort of food while you're listening to the music. But the purpose of going there was the music. And again, you came in here tonight and said, we're all about music, and that's great. But the new
Food
thing
is
coming,
accessory to it, yes.
what's coming in this 8 to 3 hours doesn't sound like it's music. It sounds like it's food, and you might get some music. And that's just how I'm trying to wrap my head around what we're doing here.
Play music on the stereo.
So that again, I'm happy to work with you to try and figure out how to fit it into what we have. It just didn't sound on first impression like it fit what you already had on the record.
But why don't we try that and see how it looks?
Okay,
So I could maybe come in and sit with you and we can
Yes.
look at it.
Wonder to sit with.
Yeah.
Why don't you come
Yeah.
in, we will sit down and I will see what we can do to try and make this work, okay?
Yeah.
But again,
I don't have the materials in front of me, but I think what would be helpful is to restate the primary use.
Michael, start over
Yep.
again, please. Start over
I
again.
don't have the materials in front of me, but having listened to the conversation, I think it would be helpful to restate the principal use as well as articulate the proposed accessory use.
Okay. And again, I will share with her what we have from our files regarding the previously approved permit. So we can try and move forward again under the residential zone and all the existing conditions to try and slot in what this is going to look like.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to do what's right.
So you understand about pre-existing.
Well, you know,
non-conforming?
oh, yeah, I do now.
Because this is what you're really operating under. The reason that it is what it is because if it was a tea room.
Yeah, it was a cheese shop.
I mean, it has been a commercial type use going back forever, because obviously Lime Street was your commercial street forever. And okay, well, you know better than I, but
It sold snacks.
So
It did not
ice
sell
cream, they had
ice
ice cream.
But
It sold
yeah.
Pinky toys and it sold little books, you know.
But I will share with her what the previous 14-year-old permit looks like, and we will see if we can figure out how to fit what she wants to do within the scope of that permit. Okay?
And can I just ask a question? If we make this happen, how does the historical district factor into that?
They,
Come up, that's been mentioned.
no, I mean, they will, I'm sure, try and weigh in on this like they weighed in when we wanted to do the arts district further up the street. Obviously, for anything on the outside, they get a fairly firm say about what happens on the outside. They don't have a veto over what goes on inside, but they certainly will come in and tell you exactly what they think about it. And I can pretty much guess what they're going to say.
They have.
You know, again, they have made it clear in the encounters I have had with them that they don't like commercial type uses on Lime Street. And they view it as sort of their role to stamp out remaining commercial uses on Lime Street.
We had a sandwich board out. And
Seriously.
No, really.
Don't put that in the minutes, please.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you so much for coming in and being so patient with
Oh,
us.
yeah, thank you. Does anybody need a copy of this? This is
No,
just.
I think we actually have to give it back.
Yeah, because this is
You have-
not an actual application, we're not supposed to be keeping the
So
record.
I will get in touch with you tomorrow. We'll set up a meeting.
Okay.
Why don't we do that? And what I will do is I will make a copy of what we have in PDF form, and email it to you so that you can
Yeah,
see
we
the
can take a
previous, okay?
Okay. Who was the prior commissioner?
Ann Brown, are you talking about?
Is it Andy?
Ann Brown was the CEO when you started.
Marilyn Owes was my best friend.
Really?
No, man.
Well, thank you very
Kidding me?
much.
I got thrown out of
Thank
town
you.
hall because of her.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Michael, Mr. Foliano, can you skip or can you tell us in 30 seconds?
Well, before.
Well, that's the point. Michael Foliano theoretically has the Rivercog representation update here, so.
A lot of it's already been covered. I think we could skip it. There are no ships going to sail between now and the next meeting.
All right, great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, approval of minutes, March 9th, meeting minutes.
Motion to approve.
Wait, I have a issue. I'm sorry, but this is kind of a key one. So on item number 4 regarding,
Put that under, there's a second, and then you do your.
oh, I apologize. I apologize, Mary Jo.
No,
That's right, all
I'm
right.
not to that point yet.
You're trying to be so particular here. So I
Okay,
make a motion to.
here's how it goes. Okay, so there's a motion to approve the minutes by Mary Jo.
Mhm.
It's seconded by Jane Marsh.
Mhm.
Is there any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
So for number 4, regarding this 77-1, 77-2 Lime Street, if you go all the way down to almost the very end, it says, Mr. Jeffrey Miller, 81 Lime Street, commented that the lighting from the current building project has negatively impacted his property, da, da, da. He was not talking about this project. He was talking about the sign in front of the high
Oh,
school.
yeah, that sign is brutal. It
Yeah.
blinds me when I'm driving.
So
Not only, no.
No.
only, he was also talking about.
He was
might have
saying
been
that
talking about both.
the street lights on the existing road were.
Yes.
okay, so fair enough. I'm just saying then we need to make some distinction because his primary point was the light. That was the
Just so-
reason he brought it up, but I
He's
totally,
been at every meeting about this.
I I agree.
say the same stuff.
I understand that. I just,
Before the
because
high
this
school
is a
site.
big project that's going to be coming up, I want to make sure the minutes.
Would you like to say?
Yeah,
So, well, then, so my recollection was that, you know, he commented that the lighting from the sign in front of the high school was negatively impacted his property, and then added, because I don't think he was going to talk about the
Yes.
project
Oh, yes.
unless it went, not knowing, well, anyways.
Yeah.
And that he doesn't like the one as well, but there,
It's that there were supposed to be hedges planted that were never planted. There were supposed to be downward facing shields on the,
And they're not.
and they're not.
Yeah.
So that's all to do with this
So-
project.
Thank you. I appreciate that clarification. I would just offer then that there needs to be additional language about, that was the primary concern.
Yeah.
he
so,
mentioned.
so how would you like that?
Just
to
like I
read?
just said,
And
How would you like that to read so we can make?
just
the
like I
change?
just said.
And the high school
Okay,
sign, add in there.
That thing's got to go off the night. Should be on.
so Amy,
Sorry.
Amy Watt, this is for you. So the amendment to the March 9th minutes, go ahead, Mary Gardner, and say what you would like those to.
Commented that the lighting from the sign in front of the high school has negatively impacted his property, and that he would like to ensure there's no additional impact on his property from this project, the 77-1.
No, that was, no, he said that.
So you asked me what I wanted it
No, no,
to
no,
say.
Two things.
So
It's the high school sign.
Okay.
In addition to.
I opened the floor to add it to my edits.
Lighting from the existing road lighting as well.
Okay,
Yeah.
how you said it,
Okay.
sounds great.
All right, hopefully I got that, Amy. Great, so all in favor with the amend, with the.
As amended.
As amended.
Aye.
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 Michael? Aye, okay.
Aye.
All right, so the meeting minutes are approved. Now, next I'll take a motion to adjourn. It is 10 PM exactly.
No one granted that motion yet. I just have a question for Eric. Did anyone else have any concerns or questions?
No,
about-
we can adjourn and you can ask unless
Okay,
this is
that's fine.
official.
I'll wait. I'll ask after.
Is it part of a meeting or?
No, it's not on the agenda, so. never mind.
Okay.
I'll
Okay,
make that motion.
all right.
Second.
Motion by Denise Savignon to adjourn, seconded by Mary Jo. All in favor, yes.
Aye.
Thank you, everybody. Whew.